Hey guys, welcome to part 4 of What If Naruto and Temari Became Missing-Nin. If you enjoyed the video then like, share and subscribe and also comment your thoughts as it inspires me to make more such videos, and remember to check out my playlist section for other interesting stories. So let's get started. Chapter 25, The Bandits of River City. Naruto felt that there was something very wrong with his current situation. Temari had stated in no uncertain terms that Itachi was to have nothing to do with food shopping, and as Kasami was unnecessarily conspicuous, this meant Naruto had the privilege of helping her shop, while Itachi was punished by being forced to sit around camp relaxing and playing his guitar. Something very wrong indeed. Not that he really minded shopping all that much, it just didn't seem quite fair how things had worked out. "Hello." A voice interrupted his thoughts. "Can I help you?" Naruto blinked at the fishmonger. Yeah, give me some of that," he said, gesturing towards one of the many bins filled with various varieties of fish. The man smiled. "Sure thing, lad. How much would you like?" "Give me 2 fishes worth, I guess." Despite having spent some time in the town already, Naruto still jumped slightly when the monger pulled out 2 4-foot knives. Kasami had warned him that people in the country of water tended towards larger utensils as well as weapons, but it still took some getting used to. Just looking down the street, he could see a woman in a food stand, cooking on a grill with a spatula longer than Naruto was tall. Across the street a man was eating with chopsticks longer than his arm, and beside him a young boy eating with a 3-foot fork. Done. A bundle of brown paper was tossed to Naruto, so he caught it with one hand and dropped it into his bag of foodstuffs before handing the monger some money. If he found their oversized tools slightly odd, he had to admit that they were incredibly efficient. Now armed with fish, he had almost everything on his list, with only cheese remaining to be found. It was, however, his suspicion that his last quarry might be more difficult to track down at a reasonable price. He looked up at the sky and calculated that he had about an hour before he needed to be back at camp. Nodding to himself, he set off in search of dairy. In an alley just down the street, a young face peeked out from behind the wall and watched him as he made his way down the street. Seeing as how he was in a city filled with giant knives and swords, Naruto felt no concern wearing Sasuke right out in the open, but as a girl stepped out from the alley into the street, her eyes were fixated on it, and she slowly clenched her fists. Slash minus 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 slash. Temari, being a kunoichi, was a very disciplined individual. But here she found herself unwatched in a city of very nice clothes stores with money. A lot of money. Money that wasn't hers. Her self-control was weakening. Before she could give in, Temari started running back towards the outskirts of town and eventually camp, trying to distance herself from temptation. She would be early, arriving back long before she and Naruto had agreed, but she had nothing more to do in the city, and could look forward to a nap before supper was prepared. Slash minus 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 slash. This, Naruto decided, was a great day. Not only had he gotten cheese, but after letting a storekeeper admire his sword, he had gotten top-quality cheese at half price. He half-skipped down the street carrying his bag of food, and was sure that nothing could possibly ruin his day. Unfortunately, he was wrong. He had not gone 2 blocks, when he felt that little tug in his mind that told him all was not as it should be. As for his pursuer, she was quite sick of following this boy around, as he apparently went shopping and had closed the gap considerably, being unaware she had been detected. Not wanting to spook whoever it was, Naruto was careful not to look behind him, but sped up as he made his way through the crowd. He continued to feel that tug at his senses, and so he made a sudden turn onto a side street and sped up again. As he got further away from the downtown throng, Naruto started to reach out with his senses while winding into more and more remote areas of the city. Eventually, he turned into a deserted alley and just stood, waiting for his unknown shadow to make a move. Far above him she crouched on a rooftop. It was obvious she had been somehow discovered, but she wasn't about to let some common grave robber get the best of her. Running through some seals, she spoke at just above a whisper, Kirigakure no Jutsu, and drew two oversized curved scimitars from sheaths on her back as the mist rolled in. She hadn't seen the boy wearing a forehead protector, so he probably had no idea what kind of sword he had. Luckily for her, it also probably meant he wouldn't know how or even have the strength to wield it. Taking a deep calming breath, she jumped silently down into the fog, landing a good 30 feet behind her prey. He wasn't moving, which she found odd, since most people tried to find their way out of the mist, but she wasn't going to be so easily unnerved. She advanced cautiously as she had been trained, waiting for there to be movement, but there was none. She closed to within a few feet and heard for the first time the voice of her target. Naruto was annoyed. He had gone out of his way, he was hungry, and his cheese wasn't going to stay fresh forever. Enough of these games. What do you want? The response came in the sound of a young girl's voice that came from all directions, obviously trained to use echoes to hide her location. I'm not going to waste my voice on grave-robbing scum like you. If you have any last words, say them now. Naruto set down his food carefully. Well, I'm not sure who you are, but you seem quite determined, so come on then. Bristling at his arrogance, she lunged forward with a low crosscut, hoping to take out his hamstrings. Naruto allowed half a second to admire her technique, then his fighting instincts kicked in. He started to turn while tearing his sword out of its restraints and twisting to parry her thrust with a vertical up slice. They were deadlocked for a fraction of a second, allowing both combatants to get a look at each other, and Naruto was surprised to see that his opponent looked to be no older than himself and wore a mist forehead protector. Not being one to ponder such things, however, he let a bit of chakra leak out and pushed, breaking the deadlock, her swords, and sent his unfortunate assailant hurling backwards. Hitting the ground and rolling to a rather painful stop, she stared at her shattered blades with combination of disbelief and horror. These were swords that had been passed down through 3 generations of her family and survived 4 wars only to be casually shattered by some thug. No, she amended as she pulled herself to her feet, he was more than a thug. She hadn't seen his sword play, but its results were enough of a testament to his skill. She closed her eyes. Before you kill me, tell me at least who you are. In all hidden mist, no one but my uncle was able to control that sword. Naruto walked out of the mist rolling his eyes. Don't be melodramatic, I'm not going to kill you. I am however interested in what you said about your uncle. I didn't know Zabuza had any relatives. This made her pause and her aura changed completely. You knew Uncle Zabu. For Naruto, it was a truly surreal moment. He was fully aware of the severity of the situation, but having this girl who had just tried to kill him speak so lightly while using a pet name for one of the most frightening men Naruto had ever met almost made him burst out laughing. You could say I knew him. And so an awkward silence ensued. I'm Mako. Momoki Mako, and You're a genin? Yes. Naruto scratched his head. Consider this a free lesson then. Don't attack someone unless you have some idea of how powerful they are, otherwise you really will end up getting killed someday. Where's your teacher anyway? It's their job to stop you from doing stupid things like this. She flushed. We're on a B rank mission, but it doesn't start until later tonight. I saw you carrying Uncle Zabu's sword. Naruto again fought the urge to laugh, and since it was marking his grave last I saw, I knew you must have taken it and you had no forehead protector, so I figured you'd come here to sell it on the black market. Naruto went around collecting the shards of Mako's 2 scimitars while trying to make sense of her rambling. To be correct, it's my sword, and I would sell my kidneys long before I'd think of selling Sarai-Kirite. Spirit Cutter. You renamed it. Actually, it kinda renamed itself. Huh? Naruto sighed. Very long story. Suffice it to say that I mean Zabuza-san, no disrespect at all, quite the opposite in fact, but either way the sword is mine now, and I am late for dinner. Hey. You can't just beat me up, break my swords, then leave. He dropped the fragments on the ground in front of her. You're kidding, right? You attacked me, accept responsibility for your foolishness. With that, he walked over, picked up his food bag and started on his way, leaving a still somewhat flabbergasted genin behind him. Hey. Get back here. Are you listening to me? Naruto looked back with exasperation. No, I'm not, and what exactly are you going to do about it? I'll follow until you talk to me. What's to say I won't just get annoyed and kill you first? You don't seem to me to be the kind of person who would do that. Naruto cursed silently. She was right. Well then, what do you expect of me? Do you want money or something? Mako started to wring her hands. Well, you seem pretty strong and I was wondering if you might help with our mission. Come again? I'm serious. Our teacher is confident, but I'm worried that this one might be more than we can handle. So naturally the obvious thing to do is ask a complete stranger for help, Naruto said with obvious sarcasm. Did it ever occur to you that I might be an enemy shinobi sent here on a mission or to spy? No. And so another awkward silence ensued. Are you an enemy shinobi here on some secret mission? No. Then why did you bring it up? Naruto's eyebrows started to twitch, to make a point, it being that you have absolutely no idea who you're dealing with. She crossed her arms. You're at least as strong as a Shuyunin, so I really don't care who you are if you'll help me. How about this, you can come with me back to my campsite, I can eat supper, and you tell me about this mission. Mako immediately changed back to being happy. Okay then. Naruto again started to walk, grumbling as he went, at least as strong as a Shuyunin. Sheesh. Slash minus 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 slash. Itachi was the first to sense Naruto's approach, but felt another's presence and jumped up to a tree branch to look. His eyes widening slightly, he jumped back down and poked Kasami. Hey, Naruto brought someone back, a Missing-Nin. Temari looked from her nap. So, maybe he made a friend. Kasami was less calm. What? Is he crazy? I've gotta hide somewhere. Itachi continued on, and it's a girl. Kasami continued to look shaken. How is that relevant? It's a Missing-Nin. Temari, however, went rigid at this additional information. What the hell is he doing? With now both Kasami and Temari in mild hysterics, Itachi smiled to himself. It was fun being him. Looking around and seeing no places to hide at ground level, Kasami jumped up into the trees. Only seconds later, Naruto emerged from the foliage and collapsed next to Itachi, followed closely by a far more energetic Mako. The fox boy held out his bag of food. Your turn to cook tonight, Weasel Man. With a small sigh, Itachi took the foodstuffs. Okay then, but I'm rather curious as to the identity of our guest. Not the type of person to let herself be introduced, Mako jumped forward. Don't mind me, Naruto-kun is helping me with a mission later tonight, so I'm just passing the tea. She stopped, re-examined the person she was speaking to, and her mouth formed an O. You're Uchiha Itachi, aren't you? Itachi almost dropped his bag of food. How did you? She pointed behind him, leading everyone on the ground to follow her gaze to a tree upon which was leaned a half-wrapped Samehada. Violent swearing could be heard from above them and Kasami dropped down. Damn it, Naruto. The least you could have done was give us some war. Kasami found himself faced with a set of huge, sparkly star-filled eyes. Uiae. I can't believe Aori here, my name is Mako and it's Nasetami Tyant. And I'm your biggest fan. Temari had been quietly simmering, but she was the first one to sort out the jumble of words that Mako had just spewed. However, as said jumble of words had only the most marginal resemblance to an actual structured sentence, it took Itachi, Kasami and Naruto a few more seconds. The shark man just stood there looking stunned for a moment, then shook his head. Excuse me. The girl was blushing red as a fire hydrant and looked slightly dizzy, and Kasami reached a hand to steady her, which she immediately appeared fascinated with. Kasami-sama is touching me. Thunk. And she fainted dead away. Kasami scratched his head. Am I the only one who finds this situation really weird? The other three shook their heads slowly. Naruto looked around. Sue, how about some supper? I got good cheese. Slash minus 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 slash. The smells coming from the tinfoil dinners cooking on the fire were slowly wafting through the air and drawing noses as close to the fire as they could go without being burnt. Naruto stared at what would be his dinner, as if it held the secrets of the universe. So, what exactly is this, Itachi? The Uchiha looked up from his rearranging the coals. I took whatever fish that was you bought. Salmon, Kasami interjected. I took the, Itachi nodded in Kaisam's direction. Salmon, season the inside with some herbs Temari bought, stuff them with some of that cheese, spice the outsides a little bit too, and wrap them in tinfoil with some carrots and thinly sliced potatoes. Naruto brightened, amazing. It's like something a chef would prepare. Kasami grinned, if you're going to have to make all your meals yourself, they may as well be good ones. Temari looked up from her task with a look of mild irritation. Why am I searching the girl? Shouldn't Naruto be the one dealing with his guest? Since she could only see his back, Temari failed to notice when Kaisam's grin became more sharky. Are you saying you'd want Naruto to search an unconscious girl who's only wearing what I must say is quite a form-fitting ninja uniform? The sand girl examined what Mako was wearing, blushed, balled up her hands into fists, blushed deeper, and under her breath, told Kasami to do various things that would be excruciatingly painful if even physically possible. Through all this, the shark man continued to grin. I thought not. And so Temari went about her searching, while everyone else stared at the food. One would initially think that Temari got the short end of the stick in this situation, but her search soon revealed something far more interesting than even Itachi's masterfully prepared cuisine. Okay, people, you have to see this. Dragging themselves away from the succulent scent of cooking fish, Naruto and Kasami went and looked over Temari's shoulder, at what she held in her hand. It was a picture of Kasami torn from what looked to be a bingo book. Someone had drawn a flower border on it. Naruto snickered while Kasami paled. Continuing to dig, Temari emerged moments later with a small pocket book entitled, Who's Who in the Seven Swordsmen of the Mist. Flipping through the book, there were notes on almost every page. Zabuza's page had the title Zabuza, Demon of the Mist crossed out, and Uncle Zabu written in a flowing cursive, causing both Temari and Kasami to snicker, at least until they reached Kaisam's page, which had yet another full-color picture, this one covered in comments such as, well-toned muscles, perfect height, cute ass. The list went on, but Naruto and Temari found themselves rather hung up on the cute ass comment. Kasami looked back at the Uchiha tending to the fire pit, leaned over and whispered, I will give you anything to not show Itachi these. Itachi, having much better hearing than Kasami gave him credit for, was, of course, immediately interested. Not show me what? Jumping almost a foot in the air, Kasami rushed to grab the offending material, but knocked into the sleeping Mako by accident, causing her to stir and slowly rejoin the land of the waking. For the second time that day, Kasami found himself faced with huge sparkly eyes. It wasn't a dream. Kasami-sama really is here. Naruto tilted his head. You're not going to faint again, are you? Itachi got up and started towards the huddle. Not show me what? Mako looked. She was about to answer Naruto when she noticed what Temari was holding and gasped, ah. How did you get those? Sensing that the group was teetering on the edge of chaos, Temari held up a hand. Everybody stop. Slash minus 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 slash. 10 minutes later, food was distributed and Kasami and Mako were far enough apart to prevent future incidents of fainting. I'm sorry I didn't recognize you, Mako-chan, but the last time I saw you would have been. Mako looked at the ground. When I was 6. I went to a dinner hosted by the Mizukage with Uncle Zabu and sat next to you. Kasami suddenly laughed. I remember, you were the one who choked on her milk during the Mizukage's speech. Listening to the conversation, Itachi and Temari finally caught on. The Uchiha nodded slowly, so you're Zabuza's niece. And I suppose you want help with this mission later because... Mako crossed her arms and huffed. Naruto took one of the most legendary relics of my family, and broke 2 others. The least he can do is help me with one measly mission. For the record, Naruto semi-growled. Your swords broke when you tried to sneak attack me. Besides, can't you get them reforged? Still, they'll never be as good as they were originally. Kasami picked up one of the pieces and examined it. Wrong there, little girl. These are decent weapons, but not extraordinary. Particularly not since Naruto broke them as easily as he did. Even I could do a better job than this if I put my mind to it. Kasami trailed off as he realized from Naruto's facial expression that he had said something rather foolish. Oh no. Why not? Naruto inquired. I'll drag Temari along on this mission tonight, leaving you and Itachi with plenty of free time. Yes, but. No buts. Think of it as a chance to pay back an admirer. Naruto smirked, an admirer who thinks you have a cute ass. Miko's face looked like a tomato. I wrote that when I was 10 years old. Can't a girl keep her childhood crushes to herself? So. Naruto, how are Miko's sword skills? Kasami said in an obvious attempt to change the subject. Naruto leaned back and stretched, ew. She's pretty fast, but her actions are as predictable as Itachi's in a candy store. Hearing this, Itachi grabbed some Pocky and started to munch. Someday I'll get you all back for making fun of me. As I was saying, her actions are too predictable. He turned to the mist girl. Though you might be happy know that the parry I used on you was one of the ones Kasami taught me, or rather, that he used on me and I learned. It worked as well on me as it did on you, except that my sword is stronger than yours were. Mako started to pout, still. I got beaten so easily by someone barely older than me. Finishing his fish, Kasami joined Naruto in reclining and looked at the sky. So Mako, when do you have to meet your team for this supposedly dangerous B-rank mission? Pretty soon actually. I should brief Naruto and Temari-san. She looked at them, if you don't mind. Slash minus 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 slash. The two Nukenin had the mission explained to them as they walked towards the south edge of the city. It's really a pretty simple mission, Mako said with a sigh. There is a group of bandits who make their base and operate far too close to the city. We were hired by the Poobah in control of this area to eliminate them. Poobah? Temari asked. Oh. I keep forgetting you two aren't from around here. Poobah, or Pooh for short, is the title given to the lesser officials who run the cities and rural areas. The one who hired us is named Vincent, and he really is a pretty decent ruler if you can get past his weirdness. Mako shook her head, but anyway, the band who we were assigned to eliminate has no known shinobi affiliated with it but contains over 70 men and is well armed, trained and equipped, which is why the local guard haven't been able to do anything about them. So essentially, Naruto said, you just want our support in case your team gets in over your heads? Mako smiled, right. I'm still a bit worried, but I'll feel much better if I know you're nearby in case something goes wrong. They stopped as they neared their destination and Mako ran ahead of the other two. I need to go meet my team now, so if you two could take up positions now, that'd be great. It won't be hard to find the bandits, and we'll be there soon. Hopefully, you two will never have to reveal yourselves. With that, the mist girl bounded off into the city. Slash minus 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 slash. Kasami examined the shattered swords with a frown. Itachi, I hope you're well rested, cause I'm gonna need some of that fire you throw so well. Itachi looked up from his guitar. The Amaterasu is not for forging swords. Don't you know any fire jutsus? None that I can use without the risk of burning the forest down. Controlling fire jutsus isn't something I've ever really practiced. Come to think of it, I haven't really practiced my weapon smithing recently either. Itachi set down his instrument, so really, we're just making it up as we go along. Yeah, pretty much. The Sharingan user let out a slow breath. Okay then, let's get started. Slash minus 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 slash. Mako stared at her teacher in shock. What? You heard me, he said slowly. After further consideration, your fears have some merit to them, so we're going to hold off the attack and call for another team or two. But we can't. I mean, the Jounin sighed. You're the one who suggested it, so don't complain when we follow your advice. Mako fell to her knees. No way. She took a breath and started to mumble to herself, still. They should be able to handle themselves, and they'll soon notice that. We're not coming as long as they don't reveal their location. Slash minus 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 slash. South of the city in the bandit camp, Naruto and Temari sat in a cage. Naruto leaned against the bars. Somehow, I just knew this was going to be one of those days. Well, it's our fault for being detected. We shouldn't have underestimated them. Still, we could have fought back a little. Naruto mumbled, only to be smacked on the head. If we put up any major resistance, we would have put them on high alert and made Miko's mission that much more difficult. Besides, this cage is probably more comfortable than wherever else we'd be hiding, and as an added bonus, we don't have to worry about being seen. A guard walked over and banged on the bars, knocking Naruto over. Hey. Prisoners who want to stay alive shouldn't talk. Naruto could see Sarai only 10 feet away and fought very hard to not let the QB just tear the guard to shreds, finally cooling his head as the man went back to his post. Time passed and the two Nukanin were just starting to wonder what had happened to Mako and her team when the annoying guard came back. Alrighty, brats. The boss said he wants to see you one at a time. The guard looked between them, his eyes settling lecherously on Temari. For the second time that day, Naruto almost killed the bastard, but Temari grabbed his arm firmly and whispered in his ear, I can deal with any situations that come up, so promise you'll control yourself. Naruto gave her a look that suggested he would do no such thing, but again calmed himself down, allowing the guards to handcuff Temari and lead her out of the cage towards a ring of tents where the elite of the bandits lived. She was half pulled along until finally they reached the largest tent of them all and she was pushed inside. Hello, pretty lady. Temari looked at the creature in front of her. Why do I always meet such bizarre people? The king of the bandits stroked his beard thoughtfully, having just met you. I don't really know. As the man moved, he jingled. The man's clothes might as well have been made of bells, since his clothes were so covered in them she could barely see any fabric at all. Do you always dress that way? Why yes, I do. I'm just the kind of guy who likes to be noticed. A bandit who likes to be noticed. A bandit king, he corrected her, and for a bandit king, one's reputation is as or more important than one's fighting ability. I suppose. Anyway, you've put me in quite a pickle, your friend and you. I really can't allow you to live after trespassing with such weapons as you had. Temari dropped and sat cross-legged on the floor. From your perspective, I guess that's true. The king nodded resolutely. So I suppose all I can do is ask for your forgiveness for what I must do. I'll at least try to make it quick for you. While he was talking, Temari was starting to think she might have to break free, but she still wanted to give Mako a chance to act. Mr. Bandit King, you could at least let me live a little while, couldn't you? Let me have something good to eat first. The bandit pondered for a moment. Sure, why not? He walked over to the door of the tent and opened it slightly, changing his countenance completely and saying in an exaggeratedly dark voice, fetch me food, worm. I have to entertain our beautiful guest. Ha 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 ha. Closing the tent flap, he smiled uneasily at her. Sorry, but I have to keep up the appearance that I'm doing all kinds of unspeakable things to you, so if you could holler like you're in horrible pain once in a while during dinner, I'd really appreciate it. You're planning to kill me later. It's not like particularly I want to, and at least I'm treating you civilly. Temari slowly tuned out the rambling bandit king as something itched at the back of her mind and she suddenly went rigid. Your men think that you're doing, as you said, unspeakable things to me. Oh, yeah. I talk like that, again, to boost my rep. So the news will be traveling around your camp. Well, yeah. Gossip is a bandit's best friend, though I'm slightly sorry that your friend will have to go through thinking about what might be happening to you, but I'll tell him the truth before I kill him so he can rest in peace. Suddenly noticing Temari's unresponsiveness, he leaned toward her. Are you feeling all right? When she looked up at him, the man found himself stunned at how her gaze seemed to pity him, and even more so when she spoke. The men in your band. They're the worst of people, right? The Bandit King was only slightly taken aback, pretty much. Even I have problems dealing with them sometimes. He nodded to himself. Too many in this profession forget that there should be honor among thieves. Why do you ask? Temari spoke with a soft and solemn voice. These unspeakable things you're supposedly doing to me. Naruto will have heard about them by now. As if cued by her voice, the air was suddenly filled with the sounds of mayhem. Slash minus 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 slash. Kasami jumped as he was cinched by Amaterasu. Shit. Itachi, be more careful. The Uchiha leaned against a log, breathing heavily. Do you have any idea how strenuous this is? Come on, stop being a baby. We're already done won the swords, so we may as well do the other. Itachi dragged himself to his feet. Naruto is a bad influence on me. A year ago I would have killed you by now for being so annoying. Kasami rolled his eyes. Whatever you say, you're still being a baby. Slash minus 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 slash. Mako stood in the office of Puba Vincent, along with her team, nervously awaiting the report of a scout who had been deployed to check on the bandits' camp. The door slammed open and 2 city guards helped the young man into the room. His skin was white as chalk and his legs appeared shaky. The Puba stood up and slammed his hands on the desk. What's the meaning of this? What did you see? The scout looked up with vacant eyes. Dead. All of them. Dead. Mako's Jounin teacher almost had a heart attack. How? By who? The scout shook his head. Couldn't see. Missed. Didn't hang around. The Puba looked around the room slowly. There is an unknown force in my territory capable of wiping out that powerful of a group without so much as a whisper. I want to know who they are. Now. Advisors and city guardsmen sprung into motion, along with pretty much everyone in the room except Mako, who was staring blankly into space. They couldn't have. It's not possible. 2 people. That young. No older than me. She continued to repeat these mantras in her head, but her memory kept going back to when Naruto had countered her attack with what she was now realizing was terrifying ease. Slash minus 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 slash. The man formerly known as the Bandit King stood among the rubble that had formerly been his tent and looked around at what had formerly been his group of bandits. Many were dead, and those who weren't were dragging themselves to their feet and running away as fast as conceivably possible. The stench of blood was in the air and the occasional groan could be heard. And in the middle of it, sat a girl. Lying down with his head in her lap was a boy with his eyes closed and his body covered with small cuts and bruises. The man watched them silently, his brain still not quite caught up to the reality surrounding him. As his thoughts slowly lined up in something resembling logical order, he slowly took a few steps towards the pair and noted that the boy appeared to be sleeping, his chest rising and falling slowly. "Do you know what you have there?" he asked the girl in a quiet voice. "A boy," was the response. The man turned slowly to get the full picture of his surroundings and then refocused on the pair, one with great power. "Yes. He cares about you very much. I hope so." The man considered his surroundings again, then shook his head slowly. "I don't think you completely understand what it is that's laying with its head in your lap." The girl looked up at him and laughed softly. "That's probably true, but I can do my best to understand him. He must lead a very sad life. Once he did, but I'd like to think his life is improving." The man turned and started to slowly walk away when he suddenly stopped. "You have there a person there who would wipe out a city to make you happy?" There was silence for a moment as the man considered his next words. "You need to guard your emotions and take responsibility for all your actions, or someday he might." The girl watched as the man walked away, his bells jingling softly, slowly disappearing until he could no longer be seen. She looked up at the sky and rested her hand on the boy's forehead, stroking his hair softly as he slept among the dead. slash minus 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 slash. Late that night, Mako slowly found her way back to where Itachi and Kasami sat packing. Kasami looked up as she approached. Have you seen Naruto and Temari? The mist girl eyes filled with tears. I'm sorry. My teacher decided to postpone the mission and then the bandit camp was destroyed and no one knows what happened. And Kasami was about to reach forward to hold her shoulder, but remembered a certain fainting incident and his hands formed sign language. Itachi. You should comfort her. The Uchiha signed in response. Why me? I don't do the comforting thing. Well, I can't touch her. Too bad then. Kasami gave up and tried to just talk her through it. You worry too much, those two can handle anything the world can throw at them. Then the shark man grinned and reached into his bag and... We finished your swords. Nothing near the quality of my brother's work, but hey, still not bad. Like magic, the girl forgot about her concerns and snatched the swords. Hand forged by Kasami-sama himself. Her eyes again became starry. I'll cherish them forever. The shark man's sweat dropped. Itachi helped some too. The still chakra drained. Itachi's glare bored into the back of Kaizam's head. Okay, maybe Itachi helped a lot. Mako stopped her cuddling of her new swords for 1 minute and dug through her pocket, withdrawing a business card. Our mission was completed, but we're getting no payment since we didn't do anything. Here's the card of the poobah, and if you guys are subtle, he might pay you a little money under the table. Itachi took the card. Okay. Thanks, I guess. Kasami rubbed his head. You're not going to tell anyone I'm back in the country of water, are you? 'Cause that would really be a pain and... Mako looked horrified at the very prospect, but then smiled at him. I'm loyal to my village, but I'm also loyal to my idols, and I don't think the two have to be mutually exclusive. Kasami smirked. Don't get killed, brat. I won't and... Tell Naruto my uncle would be proud to have someone of such skill hold his sword. She turned and ran back towards the city, bringing her hand up to her face to hide the beginnings of tears. The two watched until she was out of earshot, then Itachi suddenly looked shifty-eyed. Are you going to tell Naruto what she said? Kasami snorted. Hell no, the kid doesn't need a bigger ego than he already has. I think you're jealous. Shut up, Itachi. Slash minus 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 slash. Naruto took a deep breath and jumped, falling straight down for 10 feet or so and hitting the water with a violent splash. He felt his muscles lose some of their tension and opened his eyes to see the water around him turn red from the blood on his body and on the stained clothes he still wore. Or rather, what was left of the clothes he still wore. Standing above him on the cliff, Temari's humility and desire to be clean were having a fierce battle, but one that her humility was destined to lose. Diving into the water with significantly more grace than Naruto had done, she burst out of it giddily. Hee hee. So much water. Water everywhere. Naruto looked at her strangely. Well, we are in the country of water, so one would assume that there would be a lot of water here. There is probably more water in this lake than there was within 100 miles of hidden sand, so I'm allowed to enjoy it. Ignoring her excessive enjoyment of the water, Naruto started to examine his various wounds, and Temari noticed him doing so. How'd you get so beat up, anyway? It's not like you. Naruto poked at his cut and bruises. For the first little while, I was fighting armed soldiers with just my... He looked down at his hands. Claws. Why didn't you grab your sword? It was right there next to the cage. I wasn't really thinking straight at the time. At that point, his face was unreadable, but she heard something in his voice that sent a shiver down her spine. She sunk lower into the water and looked away. I told you I could handle myself. Why didn't you trust me? I trusted you to act when you thought the situation was getting out of hand. I acted when the guard told me that the bandit king likes to have his dinner while forcing female prisoners to do a striptease, which was when I viewed the situation as being out of hand. Still, in my defense, with the exception of our guard, whom I took great pleasure in killing, I didn't hurt anyone who didn't attack me first. In actual fact, despite the mess I made of the camp, more people escaped than died, and if placed in the situation again, I would do exactly the same as I did the first time. Temari tensed as the bandit king's words echoed in her mind. You have there a person there who would wipe out a city to make you happy. Unfortunately, her tension caused her muscles to cramp, the immediate and obvious result of this being her sinking like a rock. And anyway, Temari, Naruto looked behind him. Temari. Hello. Slash minus slash minus slash minus slash 2.5 minutes later slash minus slash minus slash minus slash. Naruto did a backstroke. You really do like the water, don't you? Catching her breath in the shallows, Temari glared, haha. Very funny. Well, I thought so. Naruto relaxed and started to float on his back in the water. Temari, do you ever wonder what it would be like to be normal? How do you mean? You know, normal. Learn math and language at school rather than killing techniques. Work at jobs rather than go on missions, that kind of thing. No, not really. Though it seems obvious you have. Sometimes I do, and I try to imagine people around me as well. What would Itachi be like if he had never been given a kunai? Would he have become a scientist? Or maybe a banker? Would Kasami have become a swordsmith, or would he have become something like a teacher? Temari laughed lightly. You really think about things like that? Do you remember when we first met? Not when we first saw each other, but when we met. If you're referring to when you used a potent psychological attack on me, knocked me out and tied me up, then yes, I do. Now see, whether or not you ever think about it, you score much better than average when it comes to looks, and so I like to imagine that if we lived regular lives and I had just seen you walking down the street, I would think, hey, that's a cute girl, as compared to, crap, she's seen my face, but I can't kill her, which is what I actually thought that day as you blasted away my concealing mist. Temari was yet again blushing while cursing herself for being embarrassed over such a simple compliment. Why would that be so different? Well, we would be able to do normal things. Go to movies, hang out with friends, go for long walks on the beach. The usual stupid things teenagers do. I think you're looking at your life all wrong. Naruto felt her re-enter the water. How do you mean? Temari slid through the water and hugged him from behind. Simple. First, we're going to deal with this issue you have where you only allow non-violent contact human if you're either emotionally disturbed or asleep, so I expect you to give at least 3 hugs a day and to try to stop avoiding touching people like you usually do now. Okay. And secondly, this Saturday, you and I are going to a movie. But we'll leave Itachi and Kasami to do whatever it is they do, and I'm not taking no for an answer on this. So I guess I should just be quiet then. She rested her chin on his shoulder. Exactly. Chapter 26, When in doubt, kick the fox. Kasami sat in the dawn's light contentedly, enjoying his few minutes of peace before the others started to wake up. Having spent years with Itachi, the two had many unspoken understandings, one of which being that the morning was Kaizam's time. Unfortunately, Naruto was not a party to said agreement. Good morning, Kasami. I see you're especially obnoxious this morning. What's the occasion? Is there something wrong with just being happy to be alive? Yes. It interrupts my quiet time. Pouting, Naruto went back over to his sleeping bag and crawled in. Fine then. A few minutes passed, and Naruto got back out of his sleeping bag and walked back over to where Kasami was sitting. See, that was the time when you were supposed to say, it's alright, Naruto, I was just kidding, I enjoy your company. But I don't right now, because you're interrupting my quiet time. Still, you were supposed to say it to make me feel better. Actually, I really don't care about making you feel better either. Naruto grumbled and went over to start a fire going. The sun slowly rose above the horizon, and as breakfast approached completion, Kasami stretched languidly and stood up. So then, Naruto, there was no sign of you two when we turned in, so when did you get back? Not exactly sure, but I can't have been asleep for more than 5 or so hours. How come you're awake so early then? Wasn't sleeping too well, so I just decided to get up. Kaisam's nose twitched and he inhaled deeply, dissecting the myriad of scents he detected. Oi! He gave Naruto a weighted look as the boy reached to sample some of the eggs he was frying. What? You smell like blood, water, and Temari. The blood I can understand from your little bandit hunting excursion, but as for the rest, do the math. M plus Temari plus water plus outlay. Naruto choked and spewed out half-chewed egg. We were in the water with our clothes on. Kasami blinked. Oh. Too bad. The shark man reached and snatched the pan from Naruto. These look tasty. He looked at the frozen boy. What are you doing? Trying very hard to forget what you just said. Why? The eggs really are tasty. One of these days you need to tell me how you make them. Slash minus 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 slash. Sasuke sat in a bar munching peanuts out of bowl when Kabuto plopped down next to him. So, what information do we have on this Mamoru Shinobu? Far as I can tell, pretty typical rich guy. Dabbles in politics, has multiple houses and is currently at his main estate. Well known for having violent conflicts with his wife, he's considered somewhat of a brute. Any clues as to who might have placed the price on his life? Kabuto nodded. Probably one of his sons. They stand to have the most to gain from his death and aren't well known for getting, along with either of their parents. So we're being employed by a person to kill one of his parents and frame the other. Essentially. Sasuke pushed himself up. Alright then, let's move out. I don't want to hang around in any place for too long. Konoha caught me once and I'd rather they not do it again. Slash minus 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 slash. It wasn't until everyone had gotten up and eaten breakfast that they realized they had almost nothing to do that day. Naruto had given Temari a good morning hug and thus had a quota of 2 left for the day, but was unsure how to proceed and decided to worry about the other 2 later. Spending the morning training was fine, but by mid-afternoon Naruto was getting antsy. Seeing as how it was Friday, he would be going with Temari to a movie the next day, and was venturing into what was for him uncharted territory. Normally, one would ask for advice in such situations, but Naruto was unsure as to whether he dared ask Kasami or Itachi for advice with regards to such a sensitive topic. Particularly since both of them were, and had always been as far as Naruto knew, single. Sweat running down his body from training, he lay down on the forest floor and did what philosophers call stewing in one's own juices. He continued to stew for the better part of half an hour, but never managed to come to what he would call a satisfactory conclusion, and finally decided to talk to Kasami, being the more normal of the two, and to just start conversation and see where it went. As Temari was in the city for the afternoon and Itachi was playing his guitar, Kasami was training alone and thus relatively easy to find. Still somewhat unsure of himself, Naruto watched with a bit of envy, as same Hada was whipped through sword katas far more complex than anything the boy himself had ever done. With a final twist and downward crosscut, the routine was done, and Kasami slowly lowered same Hada and walked over to where he had a bottle of water. Although logically Naruto knew he had long since been detected, he still felt the need to step forward into the light before speaking. I see you're as frightening as ever, Kasami-san. Kasami reached and took a few gulps of water. I'm doing well today. I had been worried that my skills might have been getting rusty, but apparently not. I don't suppose you'd like to show me some of those sword forms? Ha! You think you can keep up? We'll see, won't we? Kasami took a few more gulps of water, then picked up same Hada and went into a stance, which Naruto quickly copied. As had become their custom, Kasami would slowly go through a relatively short sequence of movements, which Naruto would then imitate. They would continue until they had gone through the entire sequence 2 or 3 times, at which point Naruto would start trying the form by himself and Kasami would correct his mistakes. Naruto waited for a few minutes until they had fallen into a rhythm, then tried to be casual. Kasami, have you ever had a girlfriend? To Naruto's shock, the shark man hesitated mid-cut and fell off balance, dropping to one knee to steady himself. A long time ago. Why do you ask? Slightly taken aback, Naruto took a moment to formulate a response. I've just never heard you talk about that kind of thing. Kasami turned toward him and Naruto saw something dark in his face. There's a reason for that. Now let's try that last form again from the top. Naruto suddenly realized that he had somehow managed to devote his afternoon to training as well, and Kaisam's sharp response was, for the moment, forgotten. By the time supper time rolled around, Naruto was ready to sleep. He was about to make a dive for his sleeping bag, when he realized he had forgotten something. Managing to catch Kasami in a surprise hug from behind, causing no small amount of confusion and mayhem, he then came to an impasse. Standing only a few feet away was Uchiha Itachi, and having caught on to Naruto's little game, was watching him closely. Naruto, on the other hand, was busy being annoyed by how much Temari seemed to enjoy watching him futilely try to reason with the Uchiha. But I need to. No. But Temari says. No. Just this once. No. I'll pay. No. Boo. No. Diplomacy having failed, Naruto was left with only one option. He tightened all the muscles in his legs and dove forward. Itachi was of course faster, but Naruto followed him as he ran, unwilling to fail to meet his hug quota on his first day. Unfortunately, Itachi seemed equally unwilling to allow Naruto within 10 feet of him. And so followed a chase of epic proportions, lasting almost a full 20 minutes. The stalemate was finally ended when Itachi found himself immobile as something cold and wet trapped his feet. This rather abrupt stop caused Naruto to crash into him, leaving them both in a heap on the ground. Itachi glared balefully up at an innocently whistling Kasami and slowly pulled himself up, followed only moments later by a somewhat disoriented Naruto. Satisfied that running into Itachi at high velocity was as good as he was going to do, Naruto found his way over to his sleeping bag and crawled in. At first it looked like he was going to be left alone, but he soon felt someone within his bubble of perception, Temari. What do you want? She was crouched a couple feet away, looking decidedly amused. You know that I wasn't really expecting you to try and hug Itachi. Then I'm glad I exceeded your expectations. Not only that, Kaisam's eyes almost bugged out of his head when you caught him from behind. So for future reference, one hug a day will be fine from now on. Really, Temari, he said with a partial grin, there's no need to get jealous. Kasami and I are just friends. I have my eyes closed right now, but I'll bet you all the money in my pocket that you're blushing red as a strawberry. Temari, who was, in fact, blushing red as a strawberry, stood up abruptly and stomped off in a huff. Snuggling deeper into his sleeping bag, Naruto sighed contentedly. Why do I have the feeling she's going to get me back for that tomorrow? Slash minus 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 slash. Naruto was up bright and early again the next morning, only to find Kasami nowhere in sight. There was, however, a note tapped to the frying pan that gave vague indications that the shark man had gone into the city and would be returning late that night. Lacking his morning entertainment, Naruto set his sights on breakfast, and soon had 6 eggs, frying for himself, and 2 each for Itachi and Temari. His eggs were soon a thing of the past, and yet Naruto was still the only one awake. Left to his own devices, he began to again stew. Kasami had been no help at all, and as Naruto didn't even want to think about talking to Itachi about relationships, the man had, after all, killed his entire family. He was left with only one option. He sat and allowed his mind to relax. Desperate times called for desperate measures. He opened his eyes and looked into the abyss that was his mind. Hey, bastard fox. There was no immediate response, so Naruto started to wonder and soon discovered why. The chibi fox was curled up in a ball, sleeping contentedly. So Naruto kicked it. What the hell? You were sleeping. I have long since discovered that most of your life is incredibly boring, so I sleep. Well, I need you right now. Seeing as how we aren't under attack, I'm going to assume you want help with something other than busting stuff up. Don't sound so disappointed. I almost never bother you, so you can afford to be at least a little accommodating when I do. You kicked me. Naruto was now realizing he might have made a mistake in his method of waking the fox, not very hard. Even so, it really hurt. I'll tell you what, I only need your advice on a few things, and I'll make it worth your while. You better, runt. As tempting as it was, Naruto knew he didn't have time to start an argument with the fox. Okay, here's my problem. Slash minus 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 slash. It's a biological fact that all people need sleep, but everyone sleeps in a slightly different way. For Uchiha Itachi, sleep means only being 95 aware of everything going on around him as compared to 100 when he's awake. Thus, for one such as him, waking up is not such a big deal as for normal people. For example, long before he was awake he already knew that Kasami was somewhere far away, Temari was still asleep, Naruto was sitting near the fire, in a state of semi-awareness, and his nose had already smelled cooked eggs sitting in the pan, waiting to be eaten. So therefore, waking up for Itachi is more a matter of just deciding to start moving, which he did. Contrary to what many would suspect based on his unmatched speed in combat, he wasn't a particularly fast-moving person, or rather, he never found a reason to hurry. And so, when he walked over to get some fried eggs, it was a slow walk, a deliberate walk, the walk of someone absolutely certain that his eggs would still be there whether he arrived in 10 seconds or 10 minutes. When he finally did arrive, he scooped his eggs onto a paper plate and started to munch. After days of boredom, Itachi felt the rare sudden impulse to do something, and with the others all preoccupied, he wouldn't even have to explain himself, which was good, since he didn't know what he was doing yet, or run the risk of someone else tagging along. Completely set on his plan, less plan of action, he finished his eggs and slunk out of camp. He was again in no rush and so arrived at the edge of River City 20-odd minutes later and started to wander in hopes of finding something interesting. As luck would have it, after laughing silently at people using oversized eating utensils, he came upon a lady behind a cart that advertised free t-shirts. Now, although not a person who wore t-shirts, Itachi found himself unable, as many people are, to pass up a chance at getting free stuff. "Excuse me, miss, I'd like a shirt." "That's fine, young man, but you have to complete a short survey." Itachi's eyes narrowed. "Your sign says nothing about a survey." "Yes, but I assure you it won't take long, and it will help my company improve our services." The lady emphasized this with a fake sugary smile. The Uchiha mentally weighed the time it would take to complete the survey against how much he wanted the t-shirt and against how much mayhem it would cause if he just pinned the old lady to the wall with a kunai and took the shirt. "I will take your survey." "Excellent." The fake sugary smile got wider. "Here you go." Taking the document, Itachi momentarily reconsidered the pin old lady to wall, steal shirt and run method, but resigned himself to his fate, since he was too lazy right then to want to bother escaping authorities. He sat down in a cafe next door and examined the survey he was to complete. Name: Uchiha Itachi. Occupation: shinobi. Home address: somewhat at a loss, Itachi wrote in his old 112 Uchiha Lane, Konoha. Sex: Itachi blinked and looked up at the old lady suspiciously. "No, thank you." Age: 19. "Wait. Don't know. What is your favorite snack food?" Pocky. "What is your favorite meal?" Pocky. "What is your favorite dessert?" Pocky. Happy that it had gone so quickly, he jumped to his feet and passed his paper to the lady, who looked at him untrustingly, but gave him a shirt anyway. Quite satisfied with his first accomplishment, Itachi set off in search of other things to amuse him. Slash minus 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 slash. Mumbling to herself, Temari rolled over as the sunlight tried with all its might to invade her eyes. Unfortunately for her, sunlight pretty much always wins such battles, and this one was no exception. As she was forced into wakefulness, she homed in on the only other person nearby. Naruto. Waddle eyes it. Naruto looked over from his place at the fire pit, not sure exactly, but it's around 11 a.m. She sat bolt upright. "You let me sleep until 11 a.m. Yeah. Why not?" Now that she thought about it, There really wasn't a reason to get up early, but she couldn't very well admit it after such a dramatic outburst, so she made one up. I wanted to polish my fan. Yes. That's right, polish my fan. Well, you can do that now. Temari smelled food. Is that breakfast? Lunch, actually, but I made enough for you. After a couple minutes, Temari actually managed to get up and make her way over to where there was food, and we need to get a newspaper or something, because… Thwap. Sorry, wasn't looking where I was throwing that. Temari picked up the newspaper from where it had landed after bouncing off her head and flipped to the entertainment section. So, we have Jaws 10th Anniversary Edition, My Neighbor Totoro, Rocky XVII, a bunch of dumb superhero movies, and Harry Potter meets Godzilla. I'm assuming that one is pretty short. She skimmed through the synopsis. No, it's not. Apparently the main characters talk for almost 2 hours about their various angsty lives, so when the big lizard finally does come and crush them into a bloody mess, everyone is glad they're dead and leaves the movie contented. Ah. These movie makers are clever. Anyway, I'm for going to Jaws, since I've never seen it. Naruto sighed as he served the food. I've seen a total of 5 movies in my life, so I'm good for anything. Temari noticed what it was she had been handed. What is this stuff? Pan-fried spam and instant rice. That sounds weird. Try it first, then comment. To Temari's great surprise, the spam and rice was quite good, so she and Naruto spent the next while focused primarily on eating. It wasn't until her food was almost completely gone that she noticed it was suspiciously quiet. Where are the 2 fruitcakes? Naruto shrugged. Out, I guess. Neither really specified what they were doing. All the better for us then. Having those 2 always around gets a bit tiresome. Maybe, but they've been invaluable to me as friends. I would have been dead months ago if not for those 2. Temari ate her last bit of lunch and threw her plate into the fire. Still, Naruto pushed the log he had been sitting on out of the way and lay down on the grass. Yeah, I know what you mean. Besides, you wanted a fruitcake-free day, and today we have one. Not quite. There's still one left. Laughing and moving over to sit closer to him, Temari suddenly had her legs kicked out from under her and fell forward, landing on Naruto with a dull thump. Naruto managed to hide his amusement behind nonchalance. You said I needed to work on human contact. Deciding that 2 could most certainly play this game, Temari pushed herself up, but only adjusted her position slightly, so she was next to him instead of on top of him with her arm draped across his chest, and her head on his shoulder. Ah. This is kinda comfy. Naruto had not expected that. His moment of confidence fizzling like a cheap firework, anxiety rolled over him in waves. Feeling him tense, Temari just pulled herself closer. What is it with you? People never touch me, Naruto mumbled. That's just the way it's always been. Wait a second, didn't you live in some kind of foster home in your early life? Yeah. They changed my diapers with tongs and bathed me by holding me by my arm and dunking me in soapy water. Most people in Konoha would have rather cut off their own hands than touch my stomach. That's… I don't even know what that is. I can't even imagine. He didn't respond at first, as he was waiting for his nerves to calm. When they finally did, Naruto reached around and pulled her body flush against his. Don't worry about it, he said with a grin, and sounding only slightly strained. Of all the things I've had to get used to in my life, this is one of the better ones. The silence was tense at first, but passed through the stages of being awkward, normal, peaceful, and finally became a comfortable silence. Neither paid much attention to the passage of time, and Naruto soon started to doze off in the afternoon sun. Chapter 27, Stop Being a Weenie. Well. Naruto's mind, deeply in sleep though it was, reacted to those words like a cold bucket of water, but he kept his eyes shut tight and spoke softly. Hello Itachi, when did you get back? Oh, just now. Naruto could hear the amusement dripping from his voice. You 2 certainly look cozy. What time is it? Just past 3. Naruto groaned and slowly started to move, which of course immediately woke Temari. The 2 were back on their feet in seconds and, after a few yawns, fully awake. Naruto stretched and then suddenly noticed something odd. What's with all that crap you have, Itachi? The Uchiha was holding numerous boxes of many sizes, all filled with stuff. That's why I'm here. I got tired of carrying all this around. Rubbing the sleep out of her eyes, Temari leaned forward. But what is it all? I managed to get some free stuff from just walking around, then found an underground casino. I kept playing and kept winning, but decided to stop half an hour ago since I had almost more than I could carry. I plan to go back there now that I've dropped this stuff off. Oh. With a wave, Itachi vanished. Well, Temari said bluntly, that was rather embarrassing. Could have been much worse. How do you mean? It could have been Kasami that found us like that. Temari opened her mouth to argue, then closed it again, and thought about it. Okay, you have a point there. Actually, Naruto said, it's probably a pretty good thing Itachi dropped by, or we might have been late for the movie. Meh, we have half an hour yet. Naruto looked at her curiously. How come you fell asleep anyway? You had just woken up. Well, actually, she said hesitantly, you fell asleep a while before me. Then what were you doing all that time? Nothing. Crickets chirped in the background. Really? Yes, really. More crickets. If you say so. With that, Naruto went over to clean up the forgotten lunch dishes, but Temari suddenly spoke really quickly. Okay, I'll admit it. I noticed something while you were asleep that seemed strange, and it's been bugging me ever since. How come you don't have any scars? Naruto stopped and looked at her. Huh? Scars? She held out her arm to illustrate. All shinobi get hit sometimes, and so most are covered in scars. Even Itachi has some, but not you. Why? Answering this question required Naruto to dredge up the memory of a conversation he had had with the Kyuubi some time ago. Because I don't heal, I regenerate. I know you heal fast, but there should still be a scar. No, Naruto corrected her, healing and regenerating are two completely different things. Healing is when your body replaces destroyed or damaged tissue with new tissue. Regenerating is when your body replaces damaged tissue with the same tissue. What? It's hard to explain to some who can't do it. Naruto pondered and was suddenly struck by inspiration. Okay, you and Kankuro are siblings, right? Yes. But you're not the exact same. The two of you have the same parents, but there are many differences between the two of you. That's how healing is. The new flesh is similar to the old, but not quite the exact same. Now regenerating on the other hand could be compared to a set of identical twins. Not only do they have the same parents, they are physically identical in every way. So then when you get hurt, your body replaces the material with flesh completely identical to what was damaged. Exactly. Regenerating isn't very common, since it's pretty much a demon thing, but theoretically, I could even regenerate whole limbs with enough time and chakra. Temari was silent for a moment. So you could get a tattoo, and then when you were sick of it, cut off your arm, grow a new one, and get a different tattoo. Naruto sweat dripped. Yes. Slash minus 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 slash. Their movie was on at 4:15, so they left camp at about 3:30. Before they left, Naruto went over everything the Kyuubi had told him. Slash minus slash flashback slash minus slash. Okay, brat, since you seem too serious about this, you'll have to follow a few basic rules. No problem. Give them to me straight. You're going to have to not be an idiot. You often don't remember to do things like think before you speak. Fine then, but let's try to avoid the personal insults from now on, shall we? Technically, you're going on a date with a coworker, so the same rules apply. No discussing anything shinobi-like and no bringing weapons. But what if Temari brings her weapons? She won't. But she won't. But good God, she won't bring any weapons. How can you be so sure? You live as long as me, you learn a few things. Now do you want my help or not? Yes. Then shut your mouth and listen. Naruto shut his mouth. Now, as I was saying, I know this might be a stretch for you, But you should try and work on your charm. Charm. Yes, charm. It's not hard, it just requires you to think in a different way than you usually do. Explain. Being charming means smiling, using what little wit you possess, and that sometimes you need to do something, often something frivolous, for someone even though you know they're fully capable of doing it themselves. That sounds dumb, but I know what you mean. Good. You again prove that you are, in fact, smarter than you look. Naruto was tiring of the fox, is that it? No, most important of all, you have to learn to be less of a weenie. Remember the personal insult thing? Yes, but I don't care. You need to stop being a weenie. No girl is going to respect someone who has a phobia of physical contact. May I remind you that my being so screwed up is mostly your fault? Again, I don't care. And just so we're absolutely clear on this, if you don't keep up your half of this bargain, I'm going to kill you in your sleep and consequences be damned. Yeah, very scary. To my immense surprise, you've been pretty useful today, so don't worry about your reward. And remember, brat, no weeniness. Go to hell. // end flashback //. As they were just about to leave, Temari was slightly shocked when, before she even suggested it, Naruto said he was planning on leaving his sword behind. She was again surprised when he suggested they walk instead on run, and doubly so when he asked to hold her hand. By the time they actually reached the theater, she was starting to wonder whether this was really Naruto. They arrived with plenty of time, but wanted good seats, so Naruto gave Temari money to buy snacks while he got tickets. Temari considered her many snack options and turned to the greasy man behind the counter, large popcorn please and 2 root beers. The man wiped his greasy hands on his greasy shirt and grabbed the popcorn scoop. What are you going to? Jaws, since it's supposed to be really good. It is, but you might find it a bit strange today. Curious, Temari grabbed her popcorn. How? Well, this strange bluish guy came in this morning and bought tickets to every single showing today. Even weirder than that, the guy always cheers for the shark, rather loudly I might add. A couple people have even left the theater, because he disturbed them so much. Going white, Temari bolted to where Naruto was just about to buy tickets. Naruto. Changed my mind, let's go to. She looked quickly to see what else was on right then. Harry Potter meets Godzilla. Naruto blinked, okay then, no problem. // 2 hours of melodrama later // Naruto and Temari walked out of the theater in a kind of daze. Well, Naruto said dryly, I was right about those movie makers being clever. By the time Godzilla showed up, I was ready to rip into those whiny wizards myself. Well, it certainly was an experience. Speaking of which, Naruto suddenly asked curiously, how come you didn't want to go to Jaws? I heard a rumor that someone strange was in the theater and was causing problems. Oh well, I guess we'll need to see Jaws some other time. You hungry? Yeah, kinda, Temari said a bit self-consciously, having hoped that her rumbling stomach hadn't been loud enough to hear. So what do you feel like eating then? I don't know. Why not find a seafood place? We are in water country after all. Sure, though I can't imagine seafood can get better than that fish Itachi made. That's because you've eaten nothing but junk your whole life. Hey, instant ramen is good. Temari rolled her eyes. Instant ramen barely qualifies as food. Fine then, you pick where we eat and then we'll see if I think it's better. Deciding to humor him, Temari found a convenience store and grabbed a tourism book, passing the man behind the counter a few coins. Going back outside to where Naruto was waiting, she brandished the book like a weapon. You better prepare yourself, because today your concept of food will be blown away. // Sasuke wandered back and forth in his hotel room nervously, his dinner long since forgotten. He tensed when felt someone at the door, but calmed when Kabuto slid quietly into the room and he sighed. No, Sasuke-sama. There don't appear to be any Cloud Nin in the city. Fine, but this will be the last night we spend in town. How did your intel gathering go? Anything new? Not really, this Mamoru is a tough customer. All his ex-employees are so afraid of him that I couldn't get so much as the name of his wife out of them. This probably goes without saying, but you were discreet in your questioning, I hope. Of course, not a one of them suspects I was anything more than a nosy reporter. Dropping onto his bed, Sasuke stared vacantly at the ceiling. So, we're going to just have to go to the estate ourselves and see what we can find out. Looks that way, Sasuke-sama. What did I tell you about doing that? Doing what, Sasuke-sama? Adding Sasuke-sama to the end of your sentences. I thought I told you to stop that. You did, Sasuke-sama. Then why haven't you stopped? It would be too disrespectful, Sasuke-sama. Okay, now you're just doing it to annoy me. I would never, Sasuke-sama. I can't even imagine going out of my way to annoy you, Sasuke-sama. Don't you know that, Sasuke-sama? Sasuke shifted his gaze to Kabuto. See, the thing is, I can't tell if you're being serious or not. Why would I not be being serious, Sasuke-sama? Never mind. Slash minus 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 slash. Naruto looked at the restaurant Temari had chosen with a detached sense of awe. You plan to eat here? Yeah, why not? It's so fancy. It's a sushi restaurant, Naruto. There's nothing fancy about sushi. I've never been to a place like this before. Which is why we're going, now come on. Sitting down, Naruto grabbed his menu and began to read with fervor while Temari casually glanced through hers. Once their order finally was taken, Naruto almost collapsed. Man. It was really hard to decide. Only because you acted like the fate of the world depended on what you ordered. I had to be sure I made the right decision. You do realize that if you really wanted to, we could come here again tomorrow. Actually, he hadn't realized that. Feeling foolish, Naruto searched for a subject change. I was pondering something earlier. Why do people think movies make good dates, anyway? Because they don't require any interaction. But doesn't that eliminate the purpose of going on a date? Yes. But people like nice passive activities since they eliminate the need for such inconveniencing things as conversation. Are most people really that shallow? Temari shrugged. It's just human nature. Remember the first girl you had a crush on? If you think back to it now, what was the crush based on? Naruto hung his head. Point taken. It was while Naruto was looking at the ground dejectedly that he suddenly felt something tickle his senses. Not wanting to needlessly cause anyone alarm, he lifted his head back up and his gaze scanned the nearby tables in what he hoped was a casual kind of way. 3 tables to his right, there was an old man sitting with middle-aged woman, and Naruto's eyes were drawn to the pair. It seemed to him at first to be nothing more than a woman going out to dinner with her father, as neither looked particularly strange, but there was something about the old man. At that same table, the woman was getting nervous. Father, that boy is staring at us. Don't look. He felt my chakra just a moment ago. How? It's perfectly masked. I sneezed. When you sneeze, every bodily function stops for a fraction of a second, and during that fraction of a second I lost control, and he sensed the chakra that leaked through. Impossible. I didn't feel a thing. Well, that, the old man said while stroking his chin, is because your senses are not yet well enough attuned. He is young, father. There is no way someone of his age could have such perception. Ah, but you assume too much. Let us go, we shall eat somewhere else. But do we really have to go? The old man glanced sideways at Naruto. Yes. Naruto watched as the old man pulled a huge walking stick from under the table and stood up, at which point his daughter helped steady him and they walked out of the building. Then, there was a hand being waved in front of his face. Hello. Earth to Naruto. What? Oh, sorry. Was just a little distracted. Temari Med, yes, you were. What was up with those 2 people? I'm not sure. And really, I don't care. So I can get to interrogating you about relationships now. It's not like there's anything to tell. I'm not sure why, but every girl I knew was either stupid, weak, or more likely, both. Temari searched her blurry memory of time she had spent in Konoha. They didn't seem quite that bad. Except that Sakura girl, she always pissed me off. The effect on Naruto was immediate. His muscles tightened, his pupils narrowed, and he half snarled, "I'm not even going to think about her." Even bastard Sasuke worked and improved himself, but Sakura has never been anything more than pathetic. Even worse, she uses cruelty to mask her own uselessness. She sounds like a bitch. Yeah, that's about right. She was one of the main reasons I left the stupid village in the first place. That, however, Temari said with a smirk, is most definitely her loss. Slash minus 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 slash. The old man walked down the street with a sense of urgency, his daughter trailing behind. Growing impatient with his lack of explanation, she grabbed his arm. "Geez, Dad. What's going on? We're going to see the poobah." "What? Why?" "Because I think that boy might be far more than he seems, and if anyone in this city would know about any powerful shinobi in the area, it would be the poobah." Setting a brutal pace, he burst into the city's central tower only minutes later, making the lady at the desk jump. "Can I help you, sir?" The old man, who looked fine compared to his heavily breathing daughter, smiled in the wizened way that old men do. "Please tell the poobah that Sark and Seraphim are here to see him." "I'm sorry, sir, but he doesn't take guests this late." Sark rubbed his head. "I'm sorry then, for not being specific. In that case, tell him that a sword master of hidden mist is here with his daughter." The desk clerk's face went ashen. Th. Those names again, sir. Sark and Seraphim. I'll tell him right away. Slash minus 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 slash. When Naruto and Temari finally got their food, they had been waiting so long that they both ate like they were starved. Naruto ate with such excessive speed that he didn't even taste his first few bites. When he slowed down a little bit, the first taste hit his tongue. Crap. This stuff is really awesome. I hate it that you're always right. The faster you get used to it, the easier your life will be. Naruto spared her an amused glare between bites, but only for a second. Temari was quite hungry herself, and so their meal went on in relative silence. When there was no more food to be found, Naruto laid back in his chair. That was tasty. I need to try some more new kinds of food. But later, because I'm going to explode if I eat any more. Like you said, there's always tomorrow. It worries me that you sound so enthusiastic. Naruto reached into his wallet and pulled out a few bills. How much should we tip? Some people say a percentage of the meal price, but I just say give the server whatever you think he or she deserves. Leaving 2,000 yen for a tip, Naruto stood up, ready to go. Sure, it's actually getting pretty late. As they left the building, Naruto suddenly realized Temari was right, the sun had already set. The night made the walk back seem surreal, as the only light came from flickering streetlights and a sliver of the moon. They turned a corner and were suddenly hit by a cold wind, causing Temari to shiver. How come you never seem bothered by the elements? Aren't you just full of questions today? Once I get a chance to examine you, I notice all this neat stuff, and then I get curious. She pointed at where their hands were interlocked. My hand is cold, but yours is warm despite the wind and the low air temperature. I don't know exactly how my body does it, but my temperature almost never changes. It has something to do with my chakra system and body composition, both of which are different than, say, yours. What did you do to yourself, anyway? Forced near-lethal amounts of demonic chakra through my system. I knew you were crazy, but that might be a record. Nah, it's worked out pretty well for me in the end. As well as being, as you put it, neat, there are major advantages to having a body like mine, and even now I'm not even sure I've figured all of them out yet. Temari suddenly grabbed his arm and hugged it to her chest. Okay then, I'm borrowing some of your body heat. Even as most of Naruto was getting nervous, a little voice in his head repeated weenie, 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 and he willed himself to calm down. Once he cooled his head, he actually quite enjoyed the contact as it gave him a warm fuzzy feeling in his gut. It was in this way that they continued back to camp, neither really feeling the need to talk anymore. Once they passed the city limits and entered the forest, the night became almost pitch black. It was times like this that for Naruto, the world truly came alive. He closed his eyes and let his other senses take over, smelling, tasting, hearing and feeling the forest. Even without sight, he felt no fear as he was fully aware of his surroundings. It was nice, he mused, to use his advanced senses to just enjoy his surroundings. He could hear Temari's heartbeat, the scratching of small animals, and the rustling of leaves as if amplified by hundreds of small hidden microphones. It was not, he mused a moment later, the most emotional or dramatic simile, but it was accurate. They stopped about a half-mile from camp and Temari seemed annoyed about something. Not wanting to cause trouble, Naruto remained quiet until she spoke. "We have a dilemma." "What kind of dilemma?" "See, often the success of a date can be determined by whether the guy offers to walk the girl home to her door. We live in the same place." "Exactly. And this is a dilemma." "Yes, it is." Looking down at her slightly pouting face in the moonlight, a maelstrom slowly brewed in Naruto's belly. He wanted more than anything to go for it, but his body was frozen. "Weenie." In that one moment, his inhibitions were shattered. Pivoting on his right foot, he wrapped his free arm around her waist and kissed her with everything he had. Temari squeaked in surprise, but didn't make any move to push him away and slowly started to kiss him back. In the world of kisses, this one was rather clumsy, neither of the participants having much experience, but it had a certain illogical wonder about it, not unlike that of a young child's first spoken word. When they broke apart, the warm fuzziness he had felt earlier was back, replacing the maelstrom that had been churning Naruto's stomach only moments before. "I think that was a good enough indication that our first date was a success." Temari rallied her confidence and grabbed his shoulder. "Actually, I don't think I quite got the message the first time." Slash minus 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 slash. Back at camp, Kasami sat surrounded by Jaw's memorabilia. "What are those two doing out there? They haven't moved for 5 minutes now." Itachi looked up. "Do you want to be the one to go check? And maybe walk in on something?" "I never said anything about going to check, but I am curious." Itachi sorted through the box of stuff. He had one gambling. "Think of it this way, if we don't actually know what they're doing, we can just assume whatever we want." Kasami grinned, and, of course, mock them ceaselessly about it. Exactly. Chapter 28, Giggity Giggity Gig. Walking into camp, Naruto felt a strange unease. Itachi sat examining piles of stuff and Kasami was reading a book about sharks, but Naruto sensed something sinister in the air. Temari seemed oblivious to the atmosphere and wandered curiously over to Itachi. "What did you win at gambling? Anything good?" The Uchiha shrugged. "I now own a mansion on the north end of town, a summer house by the sea, a company that builds shingles, a horse named Tabasco, the patent of an invention that slices bagels, a candy store, and some guy's wife. That's only the stuff worth big bucks, the rest is in boxes that I need to sort through." Temari sat next to him and peered over his shoulder. "A man bet his wife." "Yeah. Actually, it was the same guy who I got the horse from, and he bet his wife before he would bet his horse." "You started with almost nothing, so how do you manage that kind of profit?" "I just play card games, which I can win at easily." "Isn't that cheating? How is having better eyesight and a better memory than everyone else cheating?" "I guess it's not. But it still doesn't seem right." Naruto flopped onto his sleeping bag. "I figure morality is beside the point since Itachi, you have no use for anything you've won." "Maybe so, but I can sell some of them for money and return the others in exchange for having some powerful people owe me favors." Temari poked at Achi's head. "This probably goes without saying, but I assume you are going to return the man's wife." Kasami looked up from his book. "Bah. I bet there are some groups who would pay handsomely to have her as a hostage, use her to blackmail her husband. Temari crossed her arms. I sometimes can't believe you people. Naruto looked up lazily from where he was lounging. He was joking. Temari, do you really think we'd go to all the trouble of trying to transport and sell a person when we could just sell off that summer cottage? Okay. I think you're missing the point, but it really doesn't matter. Naruto was not really listening, as his mind had moved on to other more obvious sources of interest. Speaking of junk, it looks like you got quite a haul yourself, Kasami. This is not junk. I used to have the greatest known collection of Jaws memorabilia in the world, but I was forced to leave it all behind in Hidden Mist. You must really like the movie. Kasami adjusted his Jaws hat. It's my favorite. I'm always inspired when I see it to strive for great things, just like the hero in the movie. Except that it's so sad when he dies at the end. Temari huffed. Thanks for ruining the ending. Itachi pulled a bobblehead of some famous actor out of his box of stuff and threw it over his shoulder into his trash pile. Don't worry, Temari. Kasami has a rather unique view of Jaws, which I should know since he's dragged me to see it at least 7 times. Kasami looked offended. Hey, it's a great inspirational movie, and I think every young boy and girl should be taken to see it. A shark, wanting simply to find something to fill his starved belly, and the merciless humans who hunt him. You'll laugh, cry and be moved by the poor shark's struggle to live. Temari was wide-eyed. Okay then. A stuffed monkey flew through the air and landed in the trash pile as Itachi continued to dig through the box. So anyway, enough about us. What have you two been up to all evening? Thinking he sounded a tad smug, Temari was cautious. Not much. Went to a movie and ate some sushi. That's it. Sounds pretty boring. Are you sure you're not leaving anything out? Of course. Why are you acting so suspicious? What do you think I'm not telling you? Well, for example, Itachi said matter-of-factly, you're forgetting to mention your make-out session in the forest, if it was even as tame as that. And just so we're clear, Itachi continued in that same tone of voice, you two are free to do whatever you want, as long as Kasami and I aren't around, since we really don't want to listen. Temari glared. I wasn't aware that we needed your permission. Kasami smirked and brushed away an imaginary tear. Ah, they grow up so fast, don't they, Itachi? Despite having been just moments ago in a very good mood, Naruto was getting annoyed. Do you really want me to kick your ass that badly, Kasami? Ha! I'd like to see you try, brat. Just as the two swordsmen were gearing themselves up, Temari tossed her sleeping bag over her shoulder and grabbed Naruto's arm. Come on, these nutcrackers aren't going to let up anytime soon, so we'll sleep somewhere else tonight. Not really caring, Naruto just let himself be led into the woods, though he had the mind to grab his sword and pack on the way. They hadn't been gone a minute when Kasami noticed something amiss and raised his voice to call after them. Hey guys, you only have one sleeping bag. Temari's voice echoed out from the trees with an edge of amusement to it. That's all we'll need. The ex-Akatsuki shared a look, and Kasami let out a low whistle. Well, she's rather feisty, isn't she? Surprisingly, yes. We were, in a word, owned. I'm not sure it was quite that bad. Itachi gave him a flat look. Well, maybe it was that bad, but we can at least claim a moral victory. No, Kasami, we can't. Our bluff was called, and plans of harassment were foiled. Bah! All they've done is temporarily delayed our mocking, since they have to come back in the morning. Not only that, they've given us a whole night to improve our strategy. True. Itachi was silent for a moment, and if they want to give us extra time, then it would be a waste not to use it. Slash minus 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 slash. Naruto examined his position with rapt anticipation. Temari was vulnerable, she knew it, and yet she would be completely unable to stop him. He moved in for the kill, barely able to retrain himself. Your precious bishop is mine. Check. Bastard. The sleeping bag had been fully unzipped and laid on the ground like a picnic blanket, in the center of which now sat Naruto's chessboard. Are you ready to concede yet? I have checkmate in 2 moves. I need time to think. That, Naruto said pointedly, was what you said about your last move, and yet after 5 minutes of thinking you moved exactly where I knew you would and brought me 1 move closer to checkmate. So now again you are going to think, and 4 or so minutes from now, you are going to make what we both know is the only move you can, and thus I will be 1 move from checkmate, so you should just give up. Temari ground her teeth, you should just shut up. Naruto almost started whistling the Jeopardy theme, but figured that might be pushing it, so I take it I'm going to be the one who's sleeping on the ground. Well yeah, what kind of man would you be if you made a girl sleep on cold hard dirt? Naruto rolled his eyes, but refrained from making further snide comments. Time passed slowly, and Temari slowly had to accept that Naruto had been right. There was only 1 move she could make. I'm going to get you next time. Naruto laughed, sure you are. Slash minus 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 slash. Late that night, when the night was quiet, but for the sound of Temari's breathing, Naruto slowly sat up and crept over to where his sword was laying against a tree. Being as silent as possible, he lifted the weapon and slowly snuck away. He continued moving for quite some time, more concerned about the chakra he would give off than the noise he would make, so he made sure to be at least 4 miles from any other people. Sitting on the ground, he laid Sarai right in front of him and ran his hands over the blade, his mind sinking slowly into itself. You there, stupid fox. About time. I've been waiting for hours. Stop whining, you're getting an amazing opportunity, so you have no right to complain. Conceding the point, Kyuubi controlled his urge to spew insults. Anyway, Naruto said suddenly, what's this jutsu called? What is it with you humans and naming things? This particular technique could never have had a name since you invented it, but you could call it giggity gig no jutsu and it wouldn't make the slightest difference in how it worked. Naruto had never really thought about it, but he supposed the fox had a point. Shrugging to himself, he drew himself fully back into the real world, bit his thumb and streaked a line of blood across the flat of his blade, forming familiar hand seals, but in a new combination giggity gig no jutsu. There was a momentary surge of chakra, a little smoke, and the jutsu was complete. It was with great trepidation that Kyuubi slowly opened his eyes and looked down at his hands, kick ass. In place of Naruto's familiar sword stood a young man, one who was now doing backflips, just for the sheer joy of being able. Naruto, on the other hand, felt a strange sense of satisfaction. So how does it feel to have a body again? Well, it is a human body, and so completely inferior to the noble body of a fox, but I suppose I'll manage. For all his haughtiness, the demon was betrayed by the fact that he continuously flexed and stretched his muscles with apparent delight. Now I'm hoping you will remember the time limit. Yeah, brat. I'll be back tomorrow mid-morning. And remember, Naruto spoke, you may have a body, but the same rules as always apply. If you break even one, I'll know and you may find yourself quickly being cut off from the chakra that keeps you transformed. Yes, father. Speaking of which, how real am I? Technically, the body you're inhabiting is a variation on the henge, but reinforced with chakra. You are for all intents and purposes human for the next 12 hours, but I'd avoid rough physical contact. The demon suddenly dashed off and Naruto followed closely, having guessed what Kyuubi had in mind. Arriving at a lake, the fox bent over and examined his reflection. Hey. I look pretty good. The babes are going to be all over me. Naruto smiled to himself, one more thing, you've helped me out today, and so I'm going to allow a little mayhem, but only a little. Kyuubi suddenly noticed something strange about his clothing, an insignia on the back of his shirt. Wait a second. You made me look like Uchiha Sasuke. Naruto started to make his way back toward the campsite. Yes. Yes, I did. Slash minus 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 slash. Both Naruto and Temari slept in, relatively, Late the next morning, Sosere Kirite was back next to Naruto, the sword showing no sign that just hours ago, it had been romping around River City in the form of Uchiha Sasuke. Though unbeknownst to the Uchiha himself, all the city guard had been given Sasuke's, Kyubi's, picture and were told to bring him to the central tower if ever spotted, to be charged with mischief and public disturbance. It would be a shame that some years down the road when Uchiha Sasuke actually did visit River City, Naruto was not in the nearby area to see the chaos that followed, but that is another story entirely. Temari and Naruto of them stumbled back into the main camp only to notice a distinct lack of Itachi and Kasami. There was, however, a pile of a few scrolls and a Polaroid photo, which Temari picked up and examined. It was a picture of Itachi and Kasami wearing cloaks, but they weren't their old Akatsuki ones, although the pattern did look familiar. There was a written caption that said since he won't be needing it anymore, and it clicked. Oi! Naruto, get over here. You won't believe what those two whack jobs did with your sleeping bag. Naruto had one of the previously piled scrolls in his hand and was reading the first few lines. Considering what I've got here, I would believe anything. It appears that your sleeping bag has been made into clothing, though how the two of them managed to pull it off in one night is beyond me. Well, Naruto said, count me as even more amazed because this scroll is, and I quote, the Uchiha and Hoshigaki complete annotated encyclopedia of everything two hormonally charged teenagers might do while alone in the forest with just a large sword and Naruto's pack. Creepy. What's really creepy is that they knew exactly what was in my pack. And I mean exactly, down to every last used gum wrapper. Temari grabbed one of the other scrolls, apparently one wasn't enough. Because here's Tuerkio Waifdulson Volume 2, and I'd bet that's Volume 3 on the ground there. They managed to fill 3 scrolls. They must be a lot more creative than we are, since all we really did was play chess and sleep. So they managed to sew 2 cloaks from a sleeping bag and come up with, and write 3 scrolls worth of ideas which I suspect are mostly sick, twisted, or both, all in one night. Naruto took a look at the photo. No one takes stupid jokes more seriously than Kasami and Itachi. They're probably not here, because they wanted to get some sleep somewhere we wouldn't find them. Temari crushed the Polaroid in her hand. Well, I'm going to find them, and they'll be damn sorry when I do. She paced back and forth, fuming while Naruto read the first scroll with no small amount of amusement. Well, you have to at least give them credit for sheer effort. The boy tilted his head to the side as a kunai whizzed by his ear. Okay, so maybe you don't. Slash minus 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 slash. Temari never did find where Itachi and Kasami were sleeping, but the two ex-Akatsuki strolled into camp that evening with wads of cash, announcing they had sold a little of Itachi's acquired capital and returned the rest. Having spent the day wandering around with Naruto as he bought a new sleeping bag, the sand girl had almost completely cooled down and had even allowed herself to read a few entries of Tuerkio Waifdulson, which she would never admit, were at least a little bit funny. Slash minus 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 slash. Early Mode morning, Itachi withdrew the business card Mako had given him a few days earlier. So, what are people's views on going to see this Vincent person? Temari leaned against a tree. I think we should go for it. I figure there's no harm in asking for payment when the job is already done. So then, Kasami interjected, what do we do if he refuses? Are we ready to threaten him, and if so, are we willing to go through with any threat we might make? Itachi looked at Naruto. You did the job, so it's your call. He tapped the hilt of his sword rhythmically. I agree that we have very little to lose by trying, assuming we're discreet, and a few subtle threats might be required. On the other hand, I want to avoid violence, so if push comes to shove, we back off. Sound good? Getting a generally affirmative response, Naruto nodded to himself, but then comes the problem of who should go. Kasami grinned, all of us. Are you sane? Itachi said bluntly, suggesting that you, a registered Missing-Nin of this country, could walk into the central tower of this city unchallenged. Yes, I am. On what basis? You'll all just have to find out. Temari poked at the coals of the fire, making sure they were all out. You're not messing with us, right? We're not going to walk up to the central tower only to be surrounded by members of the city guard. Well, subtlety will be required, but once we're in the tower, there won't be a problem. However, this doesn't mean we won't need to prepare a little bit. Itachi joined the Akatsuki almost immediately after, leaving his village, and so has never really dealt with clients personally, meaning I have to explain to you people how to prepare for and handle a meeting with the Poobah. Naruto harumphed, and what makes you an authority? Kasami looked annoyed. Alright, everyone take a shot at guessing how old I am. Itachi looked his longtime partner over carefully, curious as he suddenly realized he didn't know the shark man's age, 26. Temari shrugged unknowingly, 23. Naruto continued to tap his sword hilt. I'll go with Itachi on this one, 26. Kasami stared at them blankly for a couple seconds, then started to laugh. I'm glad I look so youthful, but I'm afraid to say I've been walking this earth for a full 30 years. Itachi's mouth would have hung open had he allowed himself such displays of emotion, and Naruto's mouth was hanging open. Temari seemed the only one to be impressed rather than astonished. So, as I'm 11 years older than even Itachi, making my time as a shinobi almost twice his, I've had much more variety in my experiences. One of those experiences is that I have, on many occasions, met with high and done jobs for high officials. Any more arguments? No. Good. With a few quick hand seals, Kasami and Naruto concealed their more bizarre features, and thus the four set off for the city. None were concerned about carrying large weapons, as in this city, they blended in perfectly. To Temari's delight, the place Kasami led them to was a shopping mall. Alright, Kasami said authoritatively, we are not going to visit the Poobah as Nukanin, but as contractors and business people, meaning we need to dress sharply. Does anyone have any ideas or? Suddenly a dark suspicion popped into Kaizam's head as he recalled that he had never seen Itachi wear anything other than a black shirt and black pants, whereas Naruto wore only a navy vest and black pants. We might have a problem here. Slash minus 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 slash. Kabuto and Sasuke arrived at their Mark's estate and almost immediately realized why the Akatsuki had been the ones to take this mission. Not only was the estate crawling with guards, there were dogs everywhere. Sasuke observed their motions and immediately guessed the dog's purpose. They're sniffing the guards to make sure no one is an imposter using henge. Kabuto shook his head. Those dogs can't have been easy to train. That kind of expense paid suggests our Mark is expecting assassins. Activating his Sharingan, Sasuke almost fell out of the tree. Shit. There must be 20. 30. 40. More than 40 genjutsu traps. We step on the wrong blade of grass and alarms are going to go off. While we try to get out of whatever genjutsu it is, he released his Sharingan and rubbed his head. There's so much it's disrupting my vision. So we're rethinking the chop, the guard on the neck and take his place approach. Rethinking? We're trashing it. This mission is going to require much more deviousness, which is probably why they gave it to my brother. And of course, now you're going to give it your all just to prove you can do anything Itachi can. Sasuke smirked, damn straight. Slash minus 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 slash. It had been a unanimous decision, among those whose votes counted, Kasami and Temari, to go with suits since kimonos made Itachi look too feminine and made Naruto and Kasami just look weird. For the sake of consistency, Temari was told she would have to dress likewise, but she secretly preferred Western suits to kimonos as well. Itachi and Naruto appeared perplexed by the black suits they were given and eventually came out and asked where the shuriken holsters were. This was followed by a long involved description of exactly what a suit was, how to wear it, and why it didn't have shuriken holsters. Temari then dragged Naruto off to get his haircut while Kasami shopped for sunglasses and every female within sight range swamped Itachi. Arriving back 15 minutes later feeling refreshed, Naruto discovered Itachi reaching his breaking point as girls of every age surrounded him to stare and or drool and or grope. Suspecting that any moment, now Itachi would grab a kunai and get stabby, Naruto made urgent gestures suggesting that Itachi make a quick escape to the men's washroom located only 50 or so feet away. A couple minutes later, Kasami emerged triumphantly holding a number of small boxes. Yo Naruto. What happened to Itachi? Even as he spoke, Itachi burst from the washroom, like a bat out of hell, and made it to the protection of where Kasami and Naruto stood in less than 3 seconds. As soon as he appeared, the girls started to gather, but were held back by the rather imposing men with large swords. Figuring Temari might be a while shopping for herself, Kasami and Naruto escorted Itachi back the store to change back into his regular clothes, after which the three of them wandered aimlessly around the mall. Eventually, Naruto got bored enough to start wondering that if one swallowed a kunai, would one die from suffocation or blood loss first? He figured suffocation, and was just starting to consider testing this theory out when Temari appeared carrying various bags and appearing absolutely ecstatic. Naruto glared, "Nice of you to hurry, since we weren't waiting or anything." "Oh, shut up. I'm in far too good a mood to be annoyed by you. So then can we at least go now? We've been here for over 3 hours." "Yes, we can, though I may go back and look more if you keep whining." Suddenly noticing that Naruto, Kasami and Itachi were already walking away, Temari trailed off and rushed to follow. // later that day. // As the four made final preparations, Kasami sat with Temari watching as the other two struggled to move in foreign garments. "It's not fair, is it?" "No," she agreed, "it's not. I mean, between the two of them they don't have as much fashion sense as a bowl of cottage cheese, but once they actually get dressed up." Temari sighed, "Naruto looks amazing, and Itachi could pass as a friggin' model. Makes me want to go become a nudist. Everyone is equal that way." This comment immediately caused all movement within 30 feet to cease. Birds stopped chirping, bees stopped buzzing, and the wind stopped blowing. After a moment of realizing everything had gone quiet, Kasami looked around blankly. "I was being sarcastic, you know." Unfortunately, the damage had been done as each person tried vainly to rid themselves of the mental image. Temari shook her head violently. "Let us never speak of this again." Kasami coughed, "Well, fine then. I was just making a joke." Itachi was rubbing his temples as if plagued by a headache. "Next time, please make your jokes out of earshot. Some people have no sense of humor." Naruto snorted with amused derision. "Some people have no sense of decency. Well, some people are just stupid. Hey, I don't need to take that from a guy who looks like he belongs in an aquarium." Ha! This coming from someone most suited for a zoo cage. As the two started into what Temari suspected would be a rather long exchange of insults, she gathered up her own purchases and made her way to one of the many nearby lakes. Never having been one to care much about fashion, she was nonetheless overjoyed at the thought of now having something other than her shinobi uniform. She dressed quickly so as not to make the others wait, but fortunately for Temari, she had underestimated how long Kasami and Naruto could maintain a stupid argument, for not only were they still at it when she finally made it back, they appeared to be nearing the point at which swords would be picked up and landscapes devastated. Figuring the two of them should have gotten it out of their systems by now and were probably just angling for an excuse to pick up the aforementioned swords so they could devastate the aforementioned landscapes, she intervened. "All right, quit it. Kasami, weren't you just telling us a few hours ago how experienced you are? Shouldn't you then also have an equal amount of maturity to go with your experience?" Kasami rolled that thought around in his head for a few seconds. "Oi. Well, yes, I should, but that doesn't mean I do. PFFD. And you're supposed to be our role model?" Kasami turned to deliver a witty retort, but stopped when he saw her. "Well now," said in wonderment, "and all this time I just assumed your hair was stuck in those 4 spiky ponytail things." Temari flushed. "Don't be stupid. I just do it that way so my hair never bothers me." Kasami pouted slightly at being rebuked, but suddenly brightened again. "Hey. We have to do our thing. Nothing happened for a moment, then, as if cued by some silent maestro, the three reached into their breast pockets, pulled out sunglasses, snapped them open with a flick of the wrist, and slid them smoothly on, all in perfect synchronization. Temari burst out laughing. Kasami stood thunderstruck, then he and Naruto both cursed and passed some money to Itachi, which the Uchiha collected smugly. It took a couple of minutes for Temari to calm down, during which time she almost tripped from laughing so hard. As she eventually gathered control of herself, she noticed Naruto's irate state. "Sorry about that, but you guys look like a bunch of dysfunctional yakuza." "It's not personal," Naruto grumbled. "We all made a bet on how you would respond. Kasami figured you'd think it was cool, I figured you'd roll your eyes and brush us off, and Itachi said you'd laugh. The two losers had to pay the winner 5,000 yen each. So now that you three are done being silly, can we get on to the important stuff?" With a forlorn sigh for his 5,000 yen, Kasami nodded. "All right then, a couple things that the more unstable of us have to remember. It's true that we could crush the entire city guard without much effort. That doesn't however mean that we treat the poobah with anything less than the greatest respect. Speak only when spoken to or when I signal you. Most important, no matter what I do, make no threatening gestures of any kind." He turned to Itachi, "So no Sharinganing and no weapons." Then to Naruto, "And since you have built-in weapons, you must do your very best to look meek. No baring of fangs or flexing of claws." Despite mild annoyance, there were sounds of grudging agreement on all sides, and Kasami gathered his thoughts. "It's getting later in the day, so we need to leave now and keep a low profile. A reputation is a freelance Nukanin's most valuable asset, and we have the perfect chance here to start a good rep, so no mistakes on this. Slash minus 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 slash." Sasuke and Kabuto stared at a rough sketch of their mark's estate and the guard movements they had observed. "So, Sasuke-sama, any new ideas? Is there any kind of genjutsu we could use on the guards that we could later lift without anyone noticing?" "Well, yes. But we need the whole household to be under its influence, and we don't know how many are inside. Not only that, but we're not sure how a genjutsu placed over an area that's saturated with genjutsu traps might be altered. Can we even be sure that the mark is in the house? That will require some reconnaissance. So assuming everything goes according to what we have as far as a plan goes, what's our time frame?" Kabuto scratched his head. "I'd guess about 3 to 4 days. Sasuke started to absent-mindedly nibble his thumbnail. "Crap. We need to move faster. I have an idea for a genjutsu that might work, but it will need to be refined. Can you be reasonably sure of the presence of both the mark and his wife given a whole day to observe?" "Sure enough, Sasuke-sama." "All right then. Keep your sleeping time tonight short and start observing. I'll have my genjutsu ready in 18 hours, but then I'll need to sleep for 8. That will mean that if we give ourselves 4 hours to prep and plan, we can start the operation in exactly 30 hours. Determined to get this over with quickly? Wouldn't a bit more patience be prudent?" Sasuke nodded. "Maybe, but how long would this mission have taken Kasami and Itachi?" "Forget sleep, I'll start observations now. Slash minus 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 slash." Vincent was not what one would call a fat man, but nor was he thin. The best way the poobah had ever come up with to describe his physique was that he fit his chair perfectly. This was extremely fortunate, for he spent most of every day in his chair, seated behind a large oak desk. On the other side of the desk were 8 other chairs arranged in a semicircle, where his numerous visitors sat. He had entertained people of every variety in the course of his term, but as he sat reading through reports describing modifications to the city's sewer system, he was completely unaware of the visitors he was about to receive. He heard a knock at his door. "Come." His secretary pushed the door open nervously. "Karen says there are people here to see you." Karen was the lady who worked at the desk downstairs, and Vincent knew that whenever she used the intercom to inform his secretary of visitors, she always gave a detailed description, And what did she say about them? There are 4 of them, but she seems mostly concerned with a large man who she says looks like he's going to eat her. They certainly sound colorful. Are they armed? No, sir. Vincent momentarily considered sending them away, but his gut told him not to. And besides, his report was about as mentally stimulating as watching ice melt. Tell Karen to send them up. Setting his papers to one side, he reached into one of his desk drawers and pulled out a clay jar and spoon. Dipping the spoon in, he withdrew a dollop of golden syrup and slid it into his mouth with a warm sigh. Cleaning the spoon as best he could with his mouth, he replaced the clay pot and spoon back into their drawer, feeling much refreshed. He heard a knock on his door enter. His door was almost thrown open, and Vincent's eyes tightened at the first figure that pushed confidently into his office. Well, Hoshigaki Kasami. What a pleasant and rather interesting surprise. Naruto was thrown off kilter by the Poobah's apparent lack of shock at having an S-class Missing-Nin walk into his office, but noticed there was a subtle tension in the air. Kasami took a step forward. Nice to see you too, sir. Vincent leaned back in his chair. Somehow I knew you'd show up here someday. But I forget my manners. He turned to address the group as a whole. My name is Vincent Marmite III, Poobah of River City and the surrounding area. I am well acquainted with Hoshigaki, but I fear I am unfamiliar with the rest of you. Naruto, Temari and Itachi took turns introducing themselves as politely as possible while the Poobah examined them each with an unreadable expression. When they were done, he rested his elbows on his desk and laced his hands together. The suspicion that this might be a trap has I'm sure passed through all your minds by now, so I would like to clarify exactly how I am acquainted with Hoshigaki-san. In actual fact, not one of them had suspected a trap, because Itachi trusted Kasami completely and Naruto trusted Kasami completely. Temari placed her trust in Naruto, who trusted Kasami, thus, she trusted the Shark Man as well. Despite all this, they were all curious, so none corrected the Poobah. It really was, Vincent said reflectively, a minor event that had a huge impact. Back then I was a protester, nothing more than a punk, really, but I had a cause. The previous Poobah was a true incompetent, but was the brother of a crime boss, and so remained in power for 2 full terms. He was about to be elected for a 3rd time, and I started a number of major protests and 1 or 2 riots to try and stop him. Naruto tried to imagine the man in front of him as a upstart idealist punk, and found he couldn't. As the man continued, I had almost given up hope, but one night I found a note pinned to my door. It wasn't signed, but offered to solve my problems if I could provide safe passage to the mainland for one person, and would agree to keep silent. I posted a reply note agreeing, went to bed, and woke the next day to the news that Hoshigaki Kasami, the Daio killer, had broken into the city that night had killed the Poobah. The next day I smuggled Kasami-san out of water country, and I haven't heard anything of him until today. How many years ago was that? Kasami asked rhetorically. I can't even remember for sure, but I was much younger. As was I, Vincent said with a shade of nostalgia, but I doubt you are here to reminisce. Kasami subtly poked Naruto in the shoulder, and the boy took the hint. We are here with regards to the incident concerning the bandit camp recently destroyed. Vincent laughed and waved for Naruto to stop. Of course, of course. Had I known Kasami was in the area, there would have been no doubt in my mind as to how the camp was destroyed. You shall be paid in full. Kasami looked sheepish. Actually, it was Naruto who destroyed the camp, and he did so by himself, so the money goes to him. Raising his eyebrows, Vincent re-examined the boy. You don't say. In that case, the reward is 400,000 yen, the same as I would have paid Hidden Mist. Naruto almost fell over. 400,000 yen. Are you sure? Of course, young man. I pay based on the job, not who does it. You did a B-rank mission, so you get the money for such. Well, thank you very much, sir. In a much better mood than he had been in for quite some time, the Poobah grabbed up his clay pot again and ate a spoonful of the tasty contents, causing Naruto to lean forward. Is that honey? Why yes, it is, and now that our business is concluded, I fear I must reintroduce myself, because although I am technically Vincent Marmite blah 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 my friends, and I hope I can count Kaizam's friends as my friends, call me Vinny. He slurped down another spoonful of honey with a grin. Vinny the Pooh. Chapter 29, Zark stings and Kabuto sings. Naruto licked the palm of his hand and sucked each finger. Man, that honey really is good. See, Vincent said confidently, everyone makes fun of my honey eating, that is until they try it. I mean seriously, you people need to try this. No, Temari said bluntly, I'm quite sure we don't. Bah. Suit yourself. Oh, I almost forgot Kasami, Vincent said as Naruto dug into his clay pot in search of honey. Zark was here with his daughter recently, and though it's a big city, you should watch yourself. Kasami blinked, wait. Zark is here. As in, Zark of the Hidden Mist? As in, Zark, Sword Master of the Hidden Mist? Yeah. Like I said, you probably don't need to worry. He wanted a list of all the high-powered shinobi in the area. Then he and his daughter left. Hold on a second, Kasami said nervously. Just being within 30 square miles of Zark would make me worry, so being in the same city as him is a big deal. Naruto spoke through a mouthful of honey. How come Yaush care so much anyway? Allow me to be blunt, I learned swordsmanship from Hidaro Matsu, who learned swordsmanship from Ganju Sakai, and he learned swordsmanship from Ikana Sark. Are we now getting some idea of why I'm concerned? Itachi crossed his arms, but it's not like he's one of the 7 swordsmen or anything, so I think you're overreacting. Kasami shook his head. Zark was around before the 7 swordsmen, and his daughter, Ikana Seraphim, is one of the 7 swordsmen. Not only that, as if he weren't enough of a pain on his own, Zark uses a powerful ninjutsu sword and no one has any idea where he got it. Well, Temari said, now I'm worried. Naruto was silent as his thoughts churned. Temari. I think we saw him. What? That old guy at the restaurant. I think, no. I'm sure that was him. It would be far too much of a coincidence for there to be 2 old men in this city, able to hide their chakra that well, and yet still have so much of it. Kasami started to pace. Well, this is just great. We are so screwed. I'm amazed we haven't been found out already, especially considering the first place, they'd look for people like us would. Struck by momentary insight, his eyes riveted themselves to the office door, which slowly started to open. Slash minus 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 slash. For if I were an Oscar Mayer near everyone would be in love with me. Kabuto sat in tree, singing to himself. It wasn't like there was anyone close enough to hear him, and watching guards wander around can only amuse someone for so long. Slash minus 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 slash. Vincent's secretary pushed her head into the office door. Excuse me, sir, but Zark-sama is here to see you again. The young secretary balked at having so many piercing gazes focused on her, even as the poobah muttered to himself, then spoke firmly, tell him I'm busy. If that doesn't work, have the building's power cut. The secretary rushed back out, sensing urgency. Yes, sir. Kasami smacked his fist into the palm of his other hand. We have maybe 3 minutes, so everyone listen carefully. Seraphim will most definitely be waiting on the ground just outside the window, and we have no weapons. Itachi appeared unconcerned. Ah, and whose fault is that? This is not the time to be smug, Itachi. I have to think. And so, with a very determined, but still very polite, old man pushing his way past Karen the door lady downstairs, there was silence in the poobah's office as Kasami applied his often underestimated intelligence to getting them out of there. The proverbial light bulb appeared at last. Got it. Slash minus 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 slash. Ikana Seraphim stood below the central tower impatiently, leaning her rather small sword against her shoulder. It is worth noting that the term rather small sword is used relatively, meaning that she used a katana rather than some type of broadsword, and it was only 5 or so feet long. Her father had told her to just stand and watch the poobah's office window. That was it, stand and watch a window. She had trained her whole life, practiced until she fainted from chakra depletion, and finally achieved membership as the first woman in the Seven Swordsmen. And her father told her to stand and watch a window. It wasn't even a very interesting window, just a big sheet of glass somehow adhered to the wall. That was, until it shattered. Shards of glass rained into the street as hundreds of clones poured out the window, running and leaping off in all directions. Her eyes scanned the mass, the surrounding buildings, making it impossible to use the mass, destructive type of jutsu typically used to clear such numbers of clones. She was just about to send her own clone army in pursuit when she noticed a chakra fluctuation. Locking her senses onto that clone, she bounded after it. Among the clones, Naruto and Temari, who looked like Naruto thanks to a henge, ran quickly while not allowing themselves to move faster than the general mass of clones. Naruto glanced back. I think she took the bait, since she's coming after us. Can I just say now that I think this plan is completely insane? Sure, if it will make you feel better, but I suggest we run faster, since she's catching up. And was it really necessary to waste chakra on all those clones? Yes, because otherwise it would have been too obvious that we were drawing her away. They hit the city limits and started leaping through trees rather than buildings. But still, that may have been a bit excessive. Naruto silently conceded, but it was more because he wanted to focus on running than because he agreed with her. They neared their destination and Temari fell back slightly, allowing Naruto to pull in front of her. Slash minus 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 slash. Itachi and Kasami stood in the street, watching as the main door to the central tower was pushed open and an old man walked towards them, leaning on his staff for support. How nice to see you again, Kasami-san. I have to say I wasn't expecting you. Kasami scratched the back of his head. Of the two of us, Zark-sama, I can assure you I'm the more surprised. You appear to be unarmed today. But I'm more interested in how those friends of yours managed to get my daughter away from here. Simple. I relied on the fact that you hadn't told her anything about the person or people you were after, so there was no way for her to know that there were four of us. Ah, so you remembered how much I enjoy being cryptic, do you? I will never forget. You were the one who first told me that a mission is no fun when you know what's going to happen. That may be true, but a mission is also no fun when the enemy is unarmed, so I suggest you remedy that problem quickly. Oh, don't worry. Slash minus 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 slash. A certain white-haired medic Nin's hands were tapping his tree rhythmically. When the chimes ring 5, 6 and 7, we'll be right in 7th heaven. We're gonna rock around the clock tonight. We're gonna rock, rock, rock till broad daylight. We're gonna rock around the clock tonight. Slash minus 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 slash. Blasting into the campsite, Naruto grabbed Same Hada and jumped as high as he could. A nanosecond later, Temari had her fan and through no small feat of acrobatics opened it and sent a shockwave of air straight up, launching Naruto high above the trees. Holding Same Hada by the hilt, like a javelin, Naruto forced as much chakra as he could into his arm, causing a few veins to pop out in a small spurt of blood, and threw the sharkskin blade as hard as he could. Seraphim looked up as the sword flew over her head at near supersonic speeds. Same Hada. She twisted in midair, hitting the next branch backwards and launching herself back the way she had come. Slash minus 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 slash. Zark was continuing to smile politely. So, Kasami, did you ever manage to get the feel for that backhand twist cut? Nah, could never get the timing quite perfect, so I figured out a way to compensate by speeding up my backhand cross cut. Not as graceful, but equally effective. Itachi slowly shifted his gaze between the two swordsmen, finally settling on Zark. So, I hear you saw Naruto at a restaurant. Naruto. So that's his name. Well then, give him my compliments if you see him, because his sensory attunement is truly amazing. I'm sure he'll appreciate praise from one such as yourself. Whoa, Kasami cut in, here it comes. Running over to a wall and running up it, Kasami back flipped off and grabbed Samehada as it flew past, landing lightly in a crouch. Sorry for the delay. I'm ready now. Zark grabbed his wooden staff by its thick end, his hand facing the ground, and flipped the staff. So he was holding it like a sword. Excellent. I was getting impatient. Itachi blinked. Am I fighting too? Of course, Zark said as if it were obvious. Kasami alone won't keep me entertained for very long. As he spoke, a ripple rolled down his staff, the wood seeming to melt into the shape of a blade. Wait a second, you're going to fight Kasami and me with a wooden sword? Kasami sweat-dripped at Itachi. Why yes, I am. Do you have a problem with that? Not really, but... The Uchiha blinked. Zark was gone. He threw himself to one side out of pure instinct, and the earth exploded behind him. When he looked again, Zark's wooden sword was embedded halfway into where he had been standing, and the old man himself was balanced on top. My, and I'd heard that the Uchiha had the best eyes anywhere. Do try to keep up with me next time. There was a blur of movement, and Itachi again got himself out of the way with fractions of a second to spare. Slash minus 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 slash. Temari looked around nervously as they ran through the forest away from the city, now rearmed and resupplied. Are you sure it's okay to leave them like that? Naruto shrugged. Well, Kasami said we just get in the way, and considering the opponent, I'm inclined to believe him. She looked at him skeptically, but... There is the small matter of the fact that I'd rather not have to fight a sword master of hidden mist, but Kasami said they'd be fine, and we have to trust him on that. Slash minus 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 slash. And I'm too sexy for the leaf. Too sexy for the leaf. I like pot stewed beef. Kabuto was now at the point of making up his own lyrics and realized with a start that he was rather hungry. Chapter 30, Dark Waters. Itachi examined their current situation grimly. Brilliant plan you came up with, Kasami. With only seconds having passed, Itachi counted no less than 3 cuts of varying depth on his own body, and approximately the same had been inflicted on Kasami. It was a position the two were not used to being in. Zark didn't seem to have a particularly enormous amount of chakra, but his skills and style were on a whole different level than anything the two Nukanin had ever faced. The old man stood there so innocuously, daring one of them to attack him. The Uchiha was quickly realizing the benefits of wooden swords, the primary being their lack of weight. Despite his skill, Itachi had no doubt that, but for his Sharingan, he would have been dead after the first strike. Zark was at least as fast as him and far faster than Kasami, but he lacked the ability to block the man's surprisingly deadly wooden sword, which Kasami could by way of Samehada. So in summary, Itachi concluded, Zark possessed a level of skill approximately equal to that of Kasami and himself combined. As if suddenly bored by the lack of action, Zark suddenly vanished again, but this time Itachi was prepared. His eyes could just barely keep up with the old man, so he had to dodge again. But he twisted and dove right, so if Zark wanted to close for a second strike, he would have to pincer himself between Itachi and Kasami. Not appearing overly concerned, the old man did just that. The Uchiha tried to dodge again, but felt a telltale burn in his leg where the wooden blade cut into his muscle. Shifting his weight to his other foot, Itachi tried to counter-attack just as Kasami took advantage of the opening Zark's back left him. Still wearing that infernal smile, Zark grabbed Itachi's wrist and flung him over Kaisam's head while bringing his sword round to parry Samehada, catching the shark man off balance and sending him following Itachi's trajectory with a well-placed kick. And I had such high expectations for the two of you. Now I'm all disappointed. Itachi pushed Kasami off him and dragged himself up. Well, apparently this will require more planning than usual. Kasami shook his head to clear it. No shit. I don't suppose you have any brilliant ideas. The Uchiha didn't at first, but taking a slow step forward, he heard a crunch under his foot. I might just have a couple. Do you remember what I once called the most useless skill ever? Flashback. Kasami took his sword and swung it into a tree, barely even scratching the bark, but suddenly all the leaves fell off it and slowly floated to the ground. Itachi looked at him dully. So you can create vibrations, who cares? That's the most useless skill I've ever seen. End flashback. Yeah. Well, I want you to do it now. That building behind us first and then the street. I have no idea what you're thinking, but it has to be better than what we've been doing so far. Taking a couple cautious steps backwards, his eyes still on Sark, Kasami suddenly slammed Samehada into the wall behind him. The shockwave was visible as the whole building shook and the windows shattered in rapid succession, starting with those nearest to Kasami. The cloud of broken glass fell towards the earth and Itachi dashed forward. Sark watched the Uka's movements curiously, but just as he was running to intercept, he felt a small scratch on his face and stopped cold, figuring out the trick. Clever, Uchiha. Very clever. Glass continued to fall and Kasami smashed his sword into the ground, sending a shockwave through the earth, this time, the vibrations launching what glass had already hit the ground back into the air. He repeated this every few seconds, keeping the air filled with glass. Sark let the shards fall over him as he contemplated. The falling glass meant that both he and Itachi would be severely restricted in their motions, because the faster they moved, the more damage they would receive from the glass. Standing still, it was just like having small pebbles and rocks dropped on you, but at high speeds, the tiny chunks of glass would cut as well as any kunai. Still advancing, Itachi grabbed a couple of the larger pieces and threw them like shuriken, forcing Sark to dodge as fast as he dared. As he felt the sting of another cut on his face, the old man was finally starting to enjoy himself. Interesting strategy, but all you've done is slow me down. How do you plan on overpowering me? Grabbing more of the larger shards, Itachi closed the distance between them. To an outsider, the exchange of blows that followed would be almost comical, as both combatants moved and attacked exaggeratedly slowly, for fear of crippling themselves. Hissing as he received a gash on his hand, Sark backpedaled quickly. Both he and Itachi were covered in a great many small cuts, but the sword master figured he was faring slightly better. About to advance for another skirmish, Sark suddenly looked up for a moment, then glanced at Kasami before refocusing on his opponent. I'm afraid I must cut our game short, fun as it was turning out to be. Itachi, looking far more haggard than usual, laughed darkly. And how do you plan on cutting it short? You're in almost as bad shape as me, old man. With a sigh, Sark closed his eyes and simply felt the glass as it fell and the vibrations under his feet as they echoed through the earth. Your name is Itachi, right? Let me say then, Itachi, that I would most definitely like to fight you again someday. Opening his eyes once more, Sark threw his sword away to one side of the street. Ignoring the looks of disbelief he was receiving, he smiled disarmingly. But today you shall learn that talent is no substitute for experience. He formed a single seal, then thrust his right arm into the air. Leviathan. Slash minus 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 slash. As his mind slowly emerged from its confusion, the first thing he felt was pain. A rather lot of pain. Kasami forced his eyes open. What the hell? His sight was blurry, but he managed to focus when a long-forgotten face appeared in his field of vision. Seraphim. Why are you here? You should be in the forest somewhere, chasing Naruto and Temari. Well, for one, I'm keeping a useless chunk of flesh named Kasami alive. Where's Itachi? I remember using vibration transfer, but my memory starts to blur. And why am I all wet? Reaching down, she grabbed him by the collar and dragged him into a sitting position. Kasami blinked a couple of times as he tried to take everything in. He was still in the street, which was now filled with workers and covered in 6 inches of water and glass. Itachi was laying face down a few feet away, his back covered in bandages. How long was I out? Seraphim dropped down next to him. 30 or so minutes. And where then exactly is your father? Not sure, but he left right before I arrived, cause the two of you had just begun to bleed. You know, It's strange, because based on how much my side is killing me, one would think I should at least remember being injured. He used it, so your brain probably wasn't able to keep up with what was happening right before you were hit, thus causing mild memory loss. Kasami laughed, coughing up some blood in the process. So that was it? This is just perfect. I was witness to one of the greatest legends in Mist history and can't remember a damn thing. You should just be thankful you're still breathing. Yeah, about that, why am I alive? I have a hard time believing you bandaged me and Itachi out of pity. Ha. Fuck no, I would have skewered you, but my father likes strong people, and probably wouldn't like my killing someone. He went out of his way to leave alive. Kasami lay back down slowly and grinned. Nice to see that you're as charming as always ever, Seraph. You think flattery will get you anywhere? Not really, but hey, why not give it a shot? I don't suppose you have any idea where my dad might have gone. Nope. The woman leaned forward and rested her head on her knees. Since he went out of his way to leave right before I arrived, I can assume he's going to do something that I wouldn't approve of. Yeah, but there are so many things that fall into that category. How is it possible that you've managed to become more immature with the passage of time? Pure talent, babe. A sound was made a few feet away as Itachi shifted and rolled over, wincing as his back hit ground. What the hell? Slash minus 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 slash. Naruto and Temari ran across the water, both soaked from falling in a few times each. Okay, whose idea was it to run across the ocean? Temari smacked him, causing him to fall in again. It was your idea. Naruto dragged himself out of the water, running up one side of a wave and down the other. We need to get to the mainland tonight. Waiting for a ferry wasn't an option. But running on water doesn't allow for any rest, a stressful enough situation, not even considering that at any given time, we don't know how much longer we'll have to go. No other options were open to us. Kasami told us to get to the mainland tonight, and I intend to do that no matter what. Flashback. Kasami took Naruto off to a corner of the Puba's office, speaking quietly and quickly. Now listen here, Sark is way out of your league, and way out of my league, but Itachi and I together have a chance. The most you and Temari can do for us is to lead Seraphim as far away as possible, because if she joins her father we stand no chance at all. No matter whether we win or lose this fight, the mist will be after you in full force, so escape to the mainland tonight and keep a low profile for a little while. Naruto balked, but that would be abandoning you. I told you, Sark could crush you without a second thought, and I have another task for you. He pressed a piece of paper into Naruto's hand. 3 months from now, go to this location, it's where my brother is hiding out. If all goes well, Itachi and I will be waiting for you there. If not, I want you to tell Kirin that I went down fighting and wouldn't have had it any other way. The implication shook Naruto to his bones. Kasami ignored him and calmly walked back to where the others were hurriedly discussing strategy. Don't think about it, Naruto, just do it. End flashback. A cold wind blew across Naruto's face as he ran across the water. I will not fail. Slash minus 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 slash. On the shore far behind them, Sark sat on a cliff. He supposed that he could have gone after them across the sea, but he was really in no particular rush. Besides, it had been years since he had indulged in a good chase. He momentarily considered the position his daughter was now in, but dismissed this concern as well. After all, he mused, the experience would build character. Slash minus slash minus slash minus slash minus slash minus slash 13 days later slash minus slash minus slash minus slash minus slash minus slash. Hidden Sand was not anything resembling a thriving metropolis, yet even on the hottest of days, a few people would always be active. Gaara was one of those people. Not so much because he enjoyed the heat as because he enjoyed the fact that no one else enjoyed the heat, allowing him to wander the near-empty streets. But the Sand Boy was troubled on this particular day, and even more troubled because he wasn't exactly sure what was troubling him. He knew there was nothing at all logical about this feeling, but he couldn't help it. He continued to wander, finding himself at the east edge of the village, looking out over the desert. It was the wind, he decided. There was only a warm breeze, but it sent foreboding shivers down his spine. Something, he said quietly, as if afraid he might be heard. Something is going to happen soon. Slash minus 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 slash. Many miles farther to the east than Gaara's gaze could reach, just outside a small town, whose name was not even known by the sandboy, two people lay huddled in a sleeping bag. They had done nothing but run, eat and sleep since that fateful day in the country of water. Naruto wasn't sure what it was that was driving him to keep such a brutal pace, but he felt the need to run in his bones. He shifted and poked Temari, waking her. Time to go. Temari yawned. How long did we sleep? 3 hours. That's not enough. It will have to be, since we need to leave. They slept mostly clothed, so once awake, it took the two of them only 3 minutes to be ready to leave. Naruto flexed his leg muscles to loosen them. Ready? Yeah. Sleep-deprived and with their muscles burning, they set off again, determined to reach the relative safety of hidden sand. Slash minus 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 slash. As twilight fell, Sark ran his hands over the ground on which Kubai Kirihusha had been laid only a few hours earlier. Ooh. Lucky. I might catch up tomorrow. Lifting his gaze, he watched the almost unheard-of sight of dark clouds gathering in the desert sky, and he spoke to the air. Getting impatient, are we? A flash of lighting lacerated its way to earth, and in the empty desert, the old man's eyes reflected a deep blue light. I know. And to tell the truth, I'm exited as well. The last vestiges of sunlight vanished, immersing the world in darkness. Slash minus 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 slash. Sakura navigated her way through piles of bound books, scrolls, and various other knickknacks. Excuse me, Hanzo-sama. The Hokage sent me to get your report. Hanzo emerged from what had moments earlier appeared to be a solid wall of literature. Sakura swore his house must employ some sort of genjutsu, since he was the only one who could figure out how to get anywhere. He looked elated. I may have found it, Sakura-san. Found what? I've been refreshing my knowledge of ancient languages, and might have found a clue to the identity of the demon who subdued the village. He held a scroll out for her to see, which meant absolutely nothing to her. I'm sorry, but I don't. Oh, wrong scroll, how silly of me to forget, Hanzo said excitedly. See, this scroll contains information written by a group of people who used to worship demons. Sakura blanched. Worship demons? Yes, and it's not so crazy when you think about it. They served the demons in return for protection and power, and this symbiotic relationship continued for hundreds of years, until a young chief scorned the demon race and the people were wiped out. Now this is mostly irrelevant, but these people kept the best-known records of the different demons, along with information about them. Then why didn't you check their records before? Oh, the demon religion existed long after our assailant disappeared from history. But I hoped to find some clues in their records, and I did. Digging through the pockets of his robes, Hanzo pulled out a second scroll and unfurled it, and this one Sakura could read. Hanzo continued to go on about his discovery, but Sakura had stopped listening in favor. That's it for this part. If you enjoyed it, then like, share and subscribe for the next video, as it's going to be more interesting, and also check out my other playlists. Hope you would like them too.